Welcome back, everybody, to the Four Nations once again. We are now in our third match of playoffs. We're heading down into the lower bracket. My name is Trajan. I'll be your host once again today, joined by Sheikah and Synergy on the desk with me for some analysis. So let's take a quick recap of what we saw in the upper bracket before we move on to today's game. So if we could get that playoffs bracket up, Sheikah, let's come to you first. You were there for our first game, if I recall, right? Venom Crest and DMG. Why don't you remind us a little bit briefly about how that went down?
It was a Venom Crest 2-0 pretty swiftly.
It was indeed.
DMG did everything in their power to try and stop them, but Venom Crest really showing a strong and united front. And from the desk on the day, which was you, myself, and Rail, we believe that they are possibly the only team that can stand up to Tempest. Granted, Roddy nearly did, but the kinks in the armor are showing, and I think if any team's going to be able to run away with that, it will be Venom Crest.
Absolutely, for sure. Tempest do not look quite as perfect, but you mentioned you kind of buried the lead there with this Ruddy match. Synergy, catch us up on that Ruddy Tempest showdown. It was certainly one to behold.
Yeah, for sure. It was probably one of the most exciting series, well, at least for sure of playoffs, and maybe actually even like match the whole split. Ruddy, we'd not written them off because like we knew they had the skill to do it. We weren't quite expecting how good they were going to be, and we said, I think on the show, it was by far the best series we've seen from Ruddy so far. They just took the fight straight to Tempest. They trying to go for these like skirmishes, outplays, mechanical kind of plays, and it worked so well. They get game one, game two. We're like, right, Tempest have to respond here because we need to see this the same level as this from Ruddy for every game. And that was where the challenge really was for them, I think, is maintaining that level across 3 games. Like, yes, they took a game from Tempest, and it's the first proper loss for Tempest. We will discount the Belfast one. But yeah, they unfortunately weren't able to take it through in game 2. Tempest came out. It was a close game, very close still. And then we were like, yeah, if this goes to game 3, I just think Tempest will ride it out on momentum. And that is what happened in the last game. Was not pretty. And series 2-1 for Tempest.
Yeah, so they step forward and will be facing Venom Crest later on. I believe it is on Saturday this week. We're going back to see that winners final, so you'll all have to come back and tune in to see how that plays out. But for now, let's look at the low bracket. Belfast Storm versus Verzik Esports. So now Belfast Storm, when we came into this split, we expected a lot from them. We know they are previous UKL split champions. They have spent time in the UKLC back when that was running as well, and we know they are also big lovers of the lower bracket. So even though they maybe didn't end up as high in the standings as we would have predicted early on, they are certainly not to be counted out. They're always a shark down there. And then against Verzik, which we did not have as high hopes for, have really grown into that position and shown that they are deserving of that spot. So let's get their standings kind of progression graphic up. We can see how their seasons have unfolded, and then we'll continue the trend. I'll give one of you each a little marquee tent in the middle there. And Sheikah, let's come to you first. I'm going to give you Verzik to talk to us about how their split has evolved, what this team really looks like going into playoffs.
Verzik really did not have a good start to the split. While they never dropped dead last, they did get very close to the bottom. A rough starting period, not having Lars for that first game into a couple of rough performances off break, meant Verzik couldn't really catch up to the other teams in the league. But as time has gone on, well, I'm not sure if it's to the merit of Verzik or if it's to the demerit of other teams, but Fiora was left open a lot. Lars Fiora is terrifying. So as the split went on, you saw Verzik picking up wins against teams that realistically they never would have won against, just off of this Fiora pick alone. And through that, they've allowed themselves a grace period, a little bit more time to be able to grow into a team that can play very well together. It's no longer just the Lars show. You have got Hollow starting to step up into some more carry potential. We've seen Gino come forwards and start rolling with it as well, while Jolly and Goldie play this facilitative role that allows the 3 carries to do their thing. The worst thing we could see from Verzik today is Lars on tank duty, because evidently it's a waste of the player's talents.
Yeah, don't want to see it. Don't want to hear about it for sure. But for the other side, for Belfast Storm, Synergy, of course, you've been around ever since this team has been competing since the beginning. Give us the rundown on, I guess, do you agree with my assessment that they underperformed from what we would expect through this split? And why do you think they have had that small kind of slight drop-off towards the end of this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my mind, they came out kind of strong in those first couple of weeks and looked pretty good. And then they hit a stumbling block, I think, towards like second match day of week 2 or so. And we saw the cracks when they didn't convert their early lane advantage, which is probably their best strength, is they do very well. Kind of similar to Ruddy in that regard. They're very good in that early laning phase. They love scrapping, love skirmishing. Coming up against the teams like Tempest, like Venom Crest, and to an extent Ruddy, because I would say Ruddy is just a slightly better version of, there's slight differences, but they're kind of a slightly more evolved version. That's when the kind of cracks in the armor for them started to show. The consistency dropped, a few losses, a few substitutes here and there, which last minute as well. That's obviously impacted their standings. I think they've settled here, and this is not where we expected them to be. But I think as we've seen the split play out, I think 4th/5th is about where they are, because I think there is a little gap between, say, Ruddy and Venom Crest and Tempest and Belfast, for example. But anywhere between 4 and 6, I think after in post-split is where we would maybe expect to see them now. I'm hoping they've got a little bit more practice in and this playoff run, because they're going to have to run the whole gauntlet at this point. We've got a lot of matches in a row to make it to finals, so let's see what they've got.
Yeah, and we'll hope that they've maybe settled on a roster. We saw a lot of jungle changes from them and trying to open up that pool, get some new answers. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. And now let's see if they can just get back to harnessing the strength that we know this roster has, and strength that has carried them to UKL titles in the past. And that walks us forward to the main similarity between these two teams. They're very different. They look very different while they're playing. They pick very different champions. But the main similarity that we can see is that they both have one clear carry on the roster. For Belfast Storm, that's Vanguard, and for Verzik, we've already mentioned it, it's Lars. And the question today might end up being who can carry harder. So to pick your guys' brains a little bit on this, we're going to pull up some stats to show Vanguard and Lars their head-to-head throughout this season. They have both been hugely impactful. These are averaged out with their number of unique picks. So Sheikah, give me your first take on these stats and maybe just a brief read. Who do you think is actually the more effective carry of the team? And then factoring in the way these teams try to facilitate those players.
It's hard to say who the more clear-cut carry is at any point for both of these players. Of course, they play two very different lanes. They play two very different styles of champion. Going based on the stats alone, Lars is showing better gold, better damage, and better CS, which would then mean a better damage per gold lineup for the most part, but only rocks that 645 KDA, which, for those of you who work in ratios, equals a 2.75 to 1. So for every death that Lars is taking, you're getting about just under 3 kills. Whereas Vanguard, while having lower stats and everything else, is 7, 4, and 7 on that KDA, which equals out to a 3.5 to 1 KDA. So while Lars may have a better everything, Vanguard is better at getting that kill conversion every time he dies. But with 8 picks to 4 and the sheer increase of the other stats that Lars has, there's no clear winner here for me, because I think you can pin things like, gold and CS down to, well, this player is going to be a higher level than Vanguard at every stage of the game, just by proxy of the role they play. They're also probably going to, die more in team fights. It's hard to pit these two players up against each other, in my mind.
Yeah.
But I think based on what I've seen from both of them and my experiences watching the players play, Lars has far and away been a bigger carry for Vanguard. A bigger carry for Verzik than Vanguard has for Belfast on sheer ability to play alone.
Yeah, I guess that top lane does lend itself to that, right? You sometimes you wind up on your own, whether by choice or not. But how about you, Synergy? Do you feel like either of these teams is more important to their team's success overall?
Yeah, I mean, I've quite kind of settled this. I think in terms of when you compare it to everyone else on the team, it had Lars. It's Lars for me. I think I said this in the green room the other day. It was if there is an MVP in the actual most valuable player to their team, not just kind of who's done the best over the whole split. It's Lars. It has to be Lars. The wins they've got from him have often, pretty much every time, come from him. Not to discredit the rest of the team. The rest of the team is supporting him and allowing him to do what he needs to do. However, yeah, it has to be Lars for me. And obviously, he's got Fiora a few too many times. I was just having a quick scroll through the stats.
Yeah,
it's
a little
3 games that he played in the regular split. He has 1 death and
Yeah.
something 24 kills. Like,
On Fiora.
that's crazy. Yeah, literally one death.
One death.
Insane.
This is like a champion that is designed to run into like 1v3 situations, right? This is a risk-taking champion when you're playing on your own. That's crazy. But I think that the one thing that really separates them for me, obviously Vanguard is set up and intentionally is built as the carry. They draft around him, they play around him, and he pops off in the fights, and that's how it works. Lars is carrying out of necessity, not out of design, it feels like. So the rest of Verzik might be struggling across the map in certain ways. You know, we've spoken highly about people like Small Critter, about Gino down in the bot lane being able to quietly be very successful himself as well. But normally it's Lars having to pull the pants on and go, all right, we need to get this win somehow. I've been given Fiora for some reason. Let's get it done. So they definitely have different places within those teams. And a question that I think we'll see as this series develops is how the teams will focus around it, because the way that the junglers play around these individual carries is quite different. But Sheikah, in terms of one, if you could just elucidate for us a little bit more about how these teams actually on the Rift try to play around these carries in terms of facilitating them or protecting them or supporting them in any way.
Yeah, so we'll start with Belfast. I think they're a much easier team to pin down how they want to play the game, because it largely doesn't change. Even with the changes in the jungle, their playstyle stayed very similar, just in a different champion style. So Rengis is almost always on some kind of tank. You're going to just weak side this player and let them exist, because that's how Rengis plays best. Then Wilhelm was very good at playing these tanks as well. I'm just going to dive you level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, and just keep going and going and going. Unrelenting pressure. Whereas Wild Stars plays the more like, the Xin Zhao is the big pick in my mind for this player. Can play a lot more, I'm just here to pressure, and if I get the kills, it's not the end of the world. Limsey or Split Long has been a player who will be a very good tertiary carry for you. But playing things like the Orianna, the Azir, you are very, very much there to stop anything happening to your carry. And then you've got Zerg, who will just play for Vanguard. Whereas Vanguard is brought forwards in a much bigger light.
Yeah.
Vanguard is solidified as this big carry. Whereas for Verzik, everybody's chipping in. Everybody's doing their bit, even if they're having rough games. Typically, we'll see Hollow play something with CC, something to set up a team fight. Same with Goldie, same with Jolly. You'll have this trifecta of engage, whether it's Orianna Bull delivery, whether it's a Maokai ult, a Sejuani ult, a Thresh hook. That is how Verzik play best. You then let Lars on a Bruiser and Gino on any AD carry in the world run through a fight. The Gwen, the Jax, the Fiora. I said it last time we saw these teams play. This is what you get Lars on. Yeah. This is how Lars will run away with a game, is you get one of those champions or something to a very similar effect. And Gino, you're happy to shove him on Ezreal, play strong side, top side, let Gino scale into the game himself, and you've got a perfectly good winning strategy there and then for you. The styles differ largely. One's playing for bot side, one's playing for top side, but that can work very, very well because the junglers will never meet. And in a world where the junglers meet, Goldie is going to struggle just through the style that he plays alone.
Yeah, it does seem like generally Goldie has struggled in the jungle somewhat. And I guess a follow-up question that I can pose to you, Synergy, from that is, do you think it is worth Belfast time, I guess specifically, to try and dedicate more time to shutting down Lars in this matchup? Normally we would see maybe Goldie gank top once or twice in 10 minutes. He's got a kill. Lars then is just an autopilot crushing for the rest of the game. So they don't tend to put a lot of maybe effort into Verzik's topside from Goldie's angle. Do you think that Belfast can try and exploit that, or is it more about just telling Rengis, please play safe, we're going to gank bot?
So yeah, I think for Belfast it's play through bot lane. I think Rengis is one of the, it's maybe not like Les Lars on Fiora, which is like the best, probably top laner in the league on that champ. Rengis is like in the solid kind of, second to third best top in the league, solid every single game. I think he's completely capable of handling Lars, no problem, assuming Lars doesn't have Fiora. No problem. When I say no problem, I'm not saying he's going to destroy him or he's going to get destroyed. I think it's when Rengis is solid, right? I think you can depend on Rengis to do well. And so let's just leave that as it is, and actually let's give a load of resources to our bot lane, because I think Vanguard and Zerg are definitely the better bot lane of the two if we're going into the series. exploit that. Get Vanguard fed when he's playing well, when he's kind of confident, he's got kills. He's a go forward AD carry, and he will. I think that will be very good for them, and it's going to enable them to play the way they want to, because that's how they always play. They always try and play through Vanguard. I don't think there's a reason to change it just because the enemy team has Lars. You use your bans and your picks to influence that, so you can leave top lane to its own devices for as long as possible, and you kind of then play in a little race against the clock, depending on the kind of champion that Lars is on.
Yeah.
My big worry with Vanguard largely comes from the sense of we have seen Vanguard get a little bit too hypey sometimes. Going in for these, going for these flashier plays, trying to go in to be this 1v5 player, it hasn't always worked out. I remember the first game he got Vayne, it didn't work out because constantly going forward for these flashier plays. I need to see what level of Vanguard, what style of Vanguard we are going to be seeing today, because going based on everything Temporal has said throughout this entire split about this roster, it is very Vanguard focused, and we've seen that throughout the split. But if Vanguard is playing a bit too forwards, a bit too hypey, a bit too aggressive, that can be punished really easily, especially with the champion pools of Jolly Boy, of Goldie, of Hollow, of Lars. It's very easy to shut this player down the second you find that window. And punishing a player like Vanguard could spell the end for Belfast's hopes to carry on through playoffs gauntlet.
Yeah, something about that matchup that stands out to me, just before we move on a little bit, is the fact that Vanguard is really often focused on short-range AD carries. It's sort of Kai'Sa, a lot of Vayne, a lot of Sivir. There have been 2 Jinx games, and this was post-Jinx change, when it was the most broken thing on the patch, and anyone who wasn't playing it was losing free value. He won both those games, right? But we saw Jinx already starting to get banned, and something that has been a bit of a sticking point in the draft is Xayah's place in it, the priority placed on it, and the ability for range champions to outperform a Xayah, right? So it doesn't feel like Vanguard maybe has the pool to punish Xayah through that traditional method of ranging it, and I'm wondering if that maybe raises Xayah's value in this matchup, just because there perhaps isn't as good of a ways to punish it. We've seen people who can play Ziggs, or people who can play Caitlyn or whatever, but Sheikah, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, so... And I can't believe I'm saying this, because I will be the biggest advocate for picking Xayah into Kai'Sa every single day of the week. Typically, the Kai'Sa build we see Vanguard go is the lethality-ish build, if memory serves. It's not the typical crit build, and that is the single best place for Xayah to be. You can't really play it into the lethality build, because the second you get hit by a Void Seeker, you have to pop Featherstorm, and if you don't have Flash, you're dead from that point on anyway, because of Killer Instinct. So, if the Kai'Sa can work, but... I do believe Vanguard has played Varus in the past, and I was saying this on, I think it was Monday, that Varus is very good into Xayah because all 3 of the builds are very, very good.
Yeah.
The on-hit crit outranges her in auto attacks. You stack tempo faster. You can move around very effectively so feathers can't hit you. You have Chain of Corruption from 6 onwards, and if you manage to catch her without her feather storming it, you're fine. You've got lethality. You can poke her down and one-shot her with the rest of your team. You've got AP. You just outright one-shot if she hasn't got ultimate. There are a lot of different things Varus can do in that lane. So I think you have to be very careful, because if Vanguard does have a history of playing Varus competitively, you can't take Xayah blind.
Yeah.
We likely won't see things like Ziggs. I think we could see things like Varus Ezreal, so the Xayah might still fall.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, we actually saw that matchup in the Ruddy versus Tempest series. It was Sin on Varus, and then... God, I forgot the player's name now. Scream on Xayah. So it was an effective way to play into it, and it was one of the reasons that Ruddy stayed in that game so long as well. Just the pick potential as well.
He was massive out of lane. Yep. Yeah, like came out of lane, something like 3-0 and 1 on the Varus CS lead, and the game didn't go Ruddy's way, but that was not the Varus's fault, I would wager. So yeah, certainly we have seen that demonstrated as a potential option. We'll see how spicy they're willing to be in that bot lane. I believe they have the draft coming up quickly, very soon. I'm not sure, maybe I can get production just to confirm if it's actually now, before we can quickly show something else. So okay, we do have time, so we are going to look at the rosters first. So just to confirm, and this is important to confirm because we've had a lot of changes, especially out of Belfast. So let's get Belfast first, just so we know what the matchup is, especially in that jungle, and it is going to be what they have sort of settled on with Rengis, Wildstars top lane, Vanguard and Zerg in the bot lane. The big difference here is Kurosh in the mid lane. So Limsey has been subbed out. I'm not sure if this is out of necessity or out of choice, but Kurosh is someone who has played with them before. and has experience. We do have some information that we will show after this as well. But quick reaction for yourself, Synergy, on the Kurosh sub-in as someone that you have watched play as well. You've seen this guy perform. How do you feel about the substitution being made?
On the one hand, I'm excited. On the other hand, I'm nervous. I think Limsey, as Zika mentioned earlier, has been a really core part of the stability of this Belfast Storm roster. I think Limsey's performed great over most of the split. And in a way, has been a standout point for them. You know, Vayne Gods maybe had high highs, but has also had lower lows, and you need that consistency from somewhere. Yeah. However, having said that, Kurosh in his last outing in UKL back in 2021 was fantastic. And was one of the big reasons that I think it was Demise Academy. Am I remember that correctly?
Yes.
It's been so long, yeah. But why they ended up doing so well. You know, he was actually back in the day was one of those mids that could stand up to Kusai. Now, obviously, it's not Kusai here, but yeah, you know, I need. It's been 2 years. I don't know exactly, where he's progressed to and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is, at worst, I would say it's a side grade. But Chiki, you want to say something?
I do. Yeah. I know where he's gone. I know where he's been. I had to compete against him this split just gone.
Yeah.
So the split just gone. Kurosh was playing for 42 Gaming in NLC 2. Now, that roster didn't do very well. I'll be honest, the roster didn't do very well. But I've heard a lot of different things about Kurosh as a player. Despite the fact that I was never truly impressed by Kurosh throughout the split, of course, I was with Monster. I was competing against Kurosh. I had to keep quite a close eye on the players. Kurosh wasn't the kind of player that would, boom, be this massive carry player for the team, but was always very consistent, was always very strong in what he was trying to do, in just kind of existing in the game and eventually coming online and doing what the team needed him to do, whatever that was in any given game. However, I do know, having spoken to contacts outside of the league, that Kurosh is a very big character. Kurosh demands a lot of resource. Kurosh demands a lot of attention. He's a very vocal player. That's a good thing out of a mid laner for the most part. The problem then comes, you're playing with Vayne God. You can't starve Vayne God of resources. Your entire team is drafted in order to give this player resources. If you can't play to that standard, you're going to find yourself struggling a lot more. So I hope this is a practiced substitution, because if not, I feel like we're going to start to see a clash even from game one, and it will become evident in gameplay. So I don't know if Vayne God and Kurosh have played together a lot, but if they have, I'm excited to see how it works out.
Yeah. And just before we move on to the second roster, it is worth noting that Kurosh has played with Lucent on before, with players like Vayne God. So again, it's maybe not quickly practiced now, but maybe in the past they have experience together. So we'll see if they can reclaim that synergy that they've had with players like Sojourn they brought in as well. And it's worth noting that when Kurosh came second in that UKL split, it was to Lucent, featuring Vayne God and co. So there is certainly a lot of history there, but they are now back together on the same team, and we'll see if they can get that win here today. But let's take a look at Verzik quickly before we get into the draft and just confirm what we're looking at here. So it is the usual crew: Lars, Goldie, Hollow, Gino, and Jolly Boy. So we are expecting the synergy to keep growing here. We have spoken already about the fact that, yes, it has very much been the Lars show. It has been a Fiora pop-off presentation throughout a lot of this split, but people like Hollow, Gino, they have been stepping up as potential secondary carries. They're not all supporting staff anymore, and they cannot be slept on in that fight against Belfast Storm. So we'll see if they do have a lot to offer today, or if it will be still about setting up that top side. So before we get into the draft, I'm going to ask you guys, I guess I'll come to you, Synergy, first with this. Let's assume Fiora's banned, okay? Let's just assume that the world is a righteous place and that Fiora is banned. What are we taking for Lars right here? One, are we blind picking for him? And two, what are we taking?
I think for game one strategy, you give him, which side are they on? They are on blue side, so they don't have counter pick, or like they can't take the very last counter pick they want. So actually, I will change what I was about to say. I think here it's like you measure out the matchup versus Rengas. So you take something that's strong, that's safe, but also still has carry potential. I won't mind something like Gwen if that's left open. I wouldn't mind something. I just don't want to see him on Ornn. I like Cassante. I would love to see him on Cassante in a way, but it doesn't fit the way they like to play. So like, if I'm going to give one pick, I think Gwen, most likely, is what I would like to see. I think all the other picks we've seen, such as Nasa, such as Kale, you can't blind pick those. And if I think Belfast will be waiting to see what he picks and then give Rengus a good jump into it. So I would expect them to kind of maybe get a solid early pick and wait for what's the word? Basically before the second set of bans, because I think at that point you're just going to get all the champ pool squeezed as much as possible. I don't think Belfast want to throw 3 bans at him. I think that would be a bit silly. I think at most you're getting 2, which would be Fiora and then Gwen. But if Gwen's open, I think grab Gwen.
Yeah, just take it. We are going to move into the draft here. Let's pull this one up and let's see how it's going to pan out. So let's see what we're looking for in the bans. How many top lane bans are we going to see? How many of Vayne God's characters we're going to see? Is he going to be allowed the Vayne? We have seen it go, off the top of my head, it's probably gone about even in terms of win rate, but Verzik are not willing to play with fire there. They're going to take it away. And let's keep an eye on this potential Xayah as another pivot if Verzik want to try and commit to that as the first pick, or if there is an answer out of Belfast Storm as well. So right now, they're already going to the Yone, so we're not straight into the Fiora. I imagine they'll just save it until third ban just to keep us all on our toes, but it is another potential top lane focus, that Yone in the mid as well. So I think Hollow's played it once?
Hollow has.
Twice? Yeah.
He has.
So there has been a little bit of it, and we'll see what's coming out of mid lane as well, since we don't know really what Karush is bringing to the table right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you save R5 for Karosh, right? Nobody really has played against the player yet. You want to give them the best chance forwards, best foot forwards. You're going to be giving Rengus blind on R4. He's a tank player. If you can get rid of Gwen in second rotation of bans, you just take a tank and hope and pray that there isn't some hidden OP pick that Lars is going to take. B1ing the Orianna here is very, very good. It's been Hollow's comfort pick. The fact it made it through draft is absolutely disgusting. What I'm expecting from Lars this game is probably something similar to the Kale we've seen before, and it pains me to say it because I will have another breakdown.
Bit more of a carry.
There's no way they
like
pick top here.
He might get a chance for the counter, which I think is unnecessary. And yeah, we'll go to the J, so they keep the flexibility. I don't doubt that Rengus and Karosh would be able to take that one for sure. And it harkens back to what you said, Synergy, about Karosh being a player that could go toe-to-toe with Kusai back in the day. He is a mechanical player. I have no doubt in his abilities to stand up in that 1v1 matchup. Besides that, we've got the Maokai again. Once again, this has kind of risen to the top of it's not quite bannable anymore. So it's pretty much always, potentially even B1, often R1 or R2, and we've seen that come in, answer being the Rel. So a lot of flexibility here on both sides, and we're still waiting for some commitment to the top lane so we can get a sense of how that's going to work out. But for Verzik, it looks like they might instead just lock in that bot side, and you mentioned the Ezreal before, Zika, as just a good, solid ranged option to pick out.
Do it. So,
do it.
Gino's best performances this game... Ooh, that's a gauntlet.
The twist.
Gino's best performances this game have been on Ezreal. I'm excited for
like
this.
A 15-kill game or something. Yeah, I don't know if we've seen
insane.
this Kai'Sa. Everyone's sick of Kai'Sa now, it seems like. No one likes it, no one bans it, no one's even picking it. Everyone got bored of that one real quick.
It fell out of favor when Jinx came forwards into the meta because you cannot play Kai'Sa in that lane. It's impossible. she is...
Ooh.
Double
That's a first.
A double Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Vayne God's Eye is interesting. I've not seen it before.
We've not seen it, yeah.
It'd be the first time they split.
It fits his style. Well, no, not necessarily. She's not a go-forwards champion.
Scream played her like a go-forwards champion.
Well, you can.
If you've got Flash, you're a go-forward champion, right?
If you're playing it like a go-forwards champion, you need to go Gale Force or Infinity Edge for maximum efficiency. Navori doesn't really give you anything going forwards because you're mainly using it for the Blade Caller cooldown.
Yeah.
However, there's Gwen and Lars. That's 4 bans thrown towards Lars, by the way. Good lord. Okay.
Arguably 4.5, 5, with the Yone as well being an option.
Yeah.
I don't doubt you can play it. It's support focus on the other side, so Zerg getting his comforts away. The Bard is still an option into the Rel. There's also the Renata, which has become a lot more impactful. The Jamsu Renata made big impacts in the Ruddy series, and I think Lars and Verzik just toying with us, hovering that Tryndamere ever since that fateful shot, dude.
I said it at the start, man.
Oh.
Give us Lars on tank duty. The game is done. It's over. Although, this is a good test for Verzik, right? It shows us that they're willing to carry through Hollow and Gino, and if they can, this team just got 10 times scarier.
Yeah.
The one thing I worry here, though,
cool.
Verzik are quite low ranged in general.
Yeah.
And I think is potentially a struggle for. I mean, obviously you've got the long range all engaged, but your carries themselves are quite low range. And if you're playing into like Xayah and Jace, I'm not sure how well that's likely to go.
Oh my god, Rengis isn't on a tank, he's on a Kali.
Yeah, he's done it. He's pulled it out, right? He's shown us it's still up there. And I like this. I like this for them. I think it's much better in the mid lane matchup and better in the top lane matchup from what that flexibility they've kept there. So I think Belfast Storm are just going to try and give us our Belfast early game that they've been developing over the split. And all they've got to do then is pair it up with the late game with Vanguard on a slightly more unfamiliar carry. So I think the mid game is going to be potentially a tipping point either way. Either Belfast lose control of it, or we discover that they can now connect it into that late stage.
You're largely relying on Gino to get some kind of massive lead. Oriana's not going to be allowed to exist in this Jace line.
No.
And let's be honest here, Lars cannot carry on Ornn. It's not a possibility. So you're relying on Gino to get a lead into this Xayah. And in order to do that, you cannot go for the crit builds. You have to go for one of these bigger one-shot builds. Problem is you're then overstacking on AP and you're relying on Jarvan to be your only AD source. You really are in a bit of a catch-22 as Verzik here, and I think they have been outdrafted ever so slightly. Although, again, unless I see Vanguard go for something like the Gale Force or Infinity Edge, I'm not convinced that this Xayah is going to have a lot of impact, because you are very much a go-forwards team. Sure, you've got Jace for poke beforehand, but Xayah, not the biggest range. Unless you're going lethality, your Q doesn't really do the poke damage you want, and then you're putting your E on cooldown just to get value. It's really awkward to try and poke a Xayah, so you're relying on Jace to poke a fight down, and then you wrap it up with, you know, Maokai ult, Akali ult, Xayah. But the only people who are really looking to go forwards on Verzik are Jarvan and Rel, and they can play backwards quite happily because they have so many different options to get in and out of a fight. So while Belfast have a better draft, I think their game plan is also very one-dimensional in terms of this is how we're playing. Whereas Verzik, they have a little bit of option. They can force this Xayah to play out of her comfort zone, and it's really going to test if Belfast can carry through Rengis and now Kurosh.
I think this is a game where Verzik need to show us that they are a team, a playoffs team. They do not have a playoffs top laner. We need to see that they have banger front-to-back fighting 5v5 right there. Ornn, Jarvan, Ori, classic with the Rel as well. Anyone who gets caught is not getting to do anything. They are dead before they will start being CC'd. But Belfast have the Akali in the Shroud to try and catch out the Jace, who has their own repositioning, can play from range, and the Xayah, who can back away, the Renata ult. It seems like Belfast Storm, it's the burden of execution is way higher, it feels like, for them. Verzik have a simpler comp, but we do not consider them to be a stronger 5v5 team. So this is a bit of a proving moment for them. And Synergy, how do you feel about them opting for this strategy as opposed to going for the let's put Lars on a carry and the rest can be on a 4-stack and see if that works?
If you're going to do it anytime, it's game one of a series. You know, you've at least got 2 games to go back to Old Faithful. However, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a fan of it just because we haven't really seen it work before. I'm very willing to be proved wrong. And actually, I think if they are able to show that this is possible, this adds so much more like dimensionality to the team. It starts to call into question, is it worth banning all of these top lane champs? You know, like, yes, the Fiora is always going to be banned, that's fine. But is it worth banning so many more? Actually, if they can start kind of blind picking tops, even if it's Ornn or K'Sante or something like that, that's huge for them, I think, in the draft. Having said that, my issues, which I kind of started mentioning a little bit earlier, is that because of Verzik, in terms of the carries are low range, the engage isn't low range. If they at any point lose their backline, and also like I would say like low damage outside of Kai'Sa and kind of Ori, like Kai'Sa's the really only big damage source here. Ori is of course going to do a lot of AoE damage if she can hit everyone, fine. If they get the combo off, great. If there's a lot of like stumbling points, if Jace is able to find poke on the back line and they're forced to back off, they suddenly lose an awful lot of their team fight potential. I don't think it's too hard for Belfast to execute that. You know, Jace is just going to be spamming EQs. All it takes is 1 or 2 later in the game to kind of completely ruin Torko's day on Kai'Sa.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got a very good combo in the mid jungle in Flag and Drag into Shockwave into Cataclysm. You can catch a lot of people if you can get to them. I would arguably have said, if for this Verzik comp, pick an AD carry that isn't Kai'Sa, pick a normal front-to-back AD carry, one that isn't just going to go flying into the enemy team, and you're fine. But I agree with what Synergy said.
Okay, we are going to have to head into game right now, so an interesting strategy by Verzik, one that we didn't expect, and let's see if Belfast Storm is ready for it. But for now, let's pass it over to our casters, Temporal and E-June for Verzik Esports versus Belfast Storm. Take it away, lads.
Thank you very much. And yes, what an exciting time we have in front of us. We are in playoffs, and of course, it's going to be Belfast Storm versus Verzik. Whoever loses the series is out. So this is some serious business here, and for both teams, some serious League of Legends that needs to be played. Temporal, how do you feel so far? I mean, we got the Rengis on this Akali. Kind of crazy pick.
Yeah, it's a throwback. Rengus previously very into his Akali and Nico before transferring it over to his Ornn. So trust him a load in this matchup. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the lower bracket. Like you mentioned, Ejun, all on the line. If you fall here, your split ends. And we get to see the last two teams we haven't seen yet this playoffs, that 5th and 6th regular season. Teams being placed down. And I have an admission, Ejun, right? We should always strive to be neutral. We should always strive to offer the best to our audience. But there's a problem tonight. Do you know what that is?
No, I do not know what that is, Temporal. Please enlighten me.
So as Hive/Lucent, now Belfast Storm's head coach, we won some games in 2021 spring. So I will be cheering for the boys slightly tonight.
All right. That sounds super good. We'll see how things work out. I mean, obviously, Verzik, like the analyst mentioned, they do have a much more stable, easier team comp to kind of execute the classic Unga Bunga.
There is a major issue, though, and we'll look to the top lane. We'll look at Ikuvan Lol, better known as Lars, to everyone else, and we'll notice that is not Fiora, it is not Gwen, it is not Kayle.
Oh, wait. Hold on a second. I hate to interrupt you, Temporal, but I don't think Lars has an item. I mean, he basically has spots.
It's okay. That's one passive. He's gonna.
Oh, my god! I didn't even think about that. I thought he hinted for a second. I got bamboozled.
He's gonna get a little bit of gold, and then he's gonna get his Doran shield, so that he can have a refillable pot from level 1. Freeze the wave in some fun places. Trade his health bar as hollow.
Oh,
finding
my.
Kurosh's Jace, just a little bit exciting. It's not the, super assassin thought it might be Kurosh's Akali in draft, because that is pretty good, even if it is risky against the Orianna lane. It is his Jace, which is pretty strong in situations like this.
I mean, yeah, that was an amazing start for the Jace. I mean, if you're Orianna already so low, I mean, you can just kind of see the lane domination already coming ahead here for Kurosh. So feeling really good about that. Goldie is kind of nearby, but I don't know if Goldie can really spare too much resource here in mid lane, because
done there, no, with the jungle up as well. No. Too many creeps to take the 2v2, and really a cool moment in the top lane we saw there where Lars got his buy cancelled. You do have to be out of combat to use that passive, and Rengus so good at Ornn himself. This is going to be a firecracker of a top lane.
Yeah, and it's going to be so weird and interesting seeing Lars not on his signature carry top lane champs that he usually excels so much in, and instead he has to play much more of a facilitating role with this Ornn. So putting a lot more faith into Hollow and Small Critter. We'll see. We'll have to see if they can carry on with their performance today. Zerg is discovered by Goldie, but a nice Q makes sure that Goldie cannot continue on. Has to use the flash just to be safe, though.
Yeah, actually nailed the Q there. Didn't need to flash. Removed the lance forwards, as once again this Orianna starting to get punished in mid. A little bit of a fail there, as Kurosh was going for the minion dying to be the line through. And it's kind of great for Belfast so far that this Jarvan hasn't found a line in. A way to get your team fighting team accelerated, get some gold in the early game, and then this more specific Belfast comp wants to have 2 strong lanes, that wants to have that peeling back ability with the Xayah in sort of a 1-3-1 situation is much more fragile if it falls behind.
Yeah. I do also feel kind of concerned for Lars against Rengus, because, I mean, at least me knowing a little bit about top lane matches, it always feels like Akali into any tank, she's just going to have such a great time, because it's just not a lot of things a tank can do to, kind of shut down the Akali from, scaling out of control.
I think there's 2 ways Rengus could play this, right? You're right, and the Akali is going to get farm, where traditionally, against the Orianna, pre-4, pre-6, she has different modes of struggle. It could be really difficult, but you don't get that in the top lane. You can also have a sort of tank Akali yourself, a small critter dropping nice and low.
Oh, flash used by Vanguard, trying to go for the kill, going for Small Critter, but instead he will get a kill into Jolly Boy, and that is going to be a first blood for the carry of Belfast Storm.
Yeah, the Renata pick makes so much sense for Zerg and Vanguard's style. Very happy they brought it out here. champion wasn't released when I last worked with the two. So glad to see that evolution. And in that 2v2, they strike first and they managed to pick out Jolly Boy. Great work.
Yeah, I mean, Belfast Storm overall with a pretty nice early game, already kind of consolidating about a 1k gold lead. Of course, it's not the biggest gold lead, but just a lot of that, I'm guessing, is accumulated towards Vanguard, and that's exactly where you want that gold to be if you are Belfast Storm. We do have Jolly Boy here trying to do a nice flash play. Kurosh has to run away. Can he get out? No, he cannot. Hollow gets a nice kill thanks to Jolly Boy.
A little unfortunate there. Kurosh not quite able to make the flash out before the crash down. Trades it over to Hollow, so the Jace can try and push that in the 1 versus 1 now, but he will be 400 gold down, 300 gold down as the takedown comes through.
Indeed, indeed. So yeah, I mean, so far we kind of have like a little bit of kills here, a little bit of kills there, but like as the game kind of progresses onwards, I mean, who do you feel like this game kind of favors a bit more in terms of Belfast versus Verzik?
I think Belfast's composition should allow them a degree of flexibility that the 1-3-1 needs here. It's very much their style, even if it's not the champions we're traditionally used to seeing. We've seen Rengus self-sufficient and a threat later on, be that an Akali or an Ornn ultimate. Kurosh, known for his mid, known for his damage, known for his presence in teamfights, and the Jace works so well on that. It's what Limsey's offered this team all split, so we're not reinventing the wheel. And Vanguard on something that can pop off, look after itself.
Ooh, okay, Goldie going in with the QE. Yeah. Now he is targeted by 2 members. Goldie is getting a bit low, about half HP. Here comes the Ornn ult. Lars trying to get Wild Stars, but Wild Stars will flash out of that to get away with his life.
Yeah, just a little bit of advantage generated there. Without the ult in top lane, we might see Rengus try and push the envelope a little to see how that works out. But after that rotation moving away, Belfast feel empowered to start the dragon off.
Yep, and there's 4 members here. Doesn't seem like there's going to be any contest from the side of Verzik, so this will be a nice #1 dragon for Belfast Storm. I mean, it's the Hextech Drake. It's a nice one to have.
Yeah, it's not a bad stat stick. Wild Stars will pick that one up and resist. Goldie coming forwards, not going over the wall. Let's take stock of the map. 600 gold advantage for Belfast. 500 of that sitting on their AD carry, and then a little negative in mid. So, if we think about the way we wanted this game to play out, that's going to be a nice 2v2 till later on. They're going to have to rotate up till mid during like the 8-minute mark if we're going to go for this Herald. Maybe a bit later if we go for another 2v2 kill. Belfast sitting nice and comfortable right now.
Yeah. Oh, at least it seems like Hollow, you know, despite the level 1 mishaps and like kind of losing out on a lot of the trade, now in much more of a better position against Kuro. So now Hollow is in a pretty nice position. I mean, same could be said for Rengus on top lane. I mean, he's just going to be super solid there all the time. You can already notice from like a little bit of those trades in top lane that, you know, Lars is just struggling to bring him down low.
As the levels come on, the Akali will struggle to trade into Ornn's health bar. You're right. Ornn also will struggle to get a meaningful all-in. There's enough room in the Shroud that unless you're up against terrain, you can't be reliably knocked up. You can always play to the location of the Q. Verzik did move up first. I don't mind Belfast not coming to this as long as they push mid in and maybe try something cross-mapped in bottom lane.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're not really going to go after this. So Goldie will get this smite, get that first Herald. So it's 1 Drake, 1 Herald. I mean, so far this game is pretty even. I mean, yeah, a little lead towards Belfast, but it's nothing super significant at the moment.
Yeah, remember that the sort of taking Herald doesn't mean as much as the Dragon. It doesn't stick around for as long. Sure, it'll give you that golden experience there. And while it will get 2-ish plates, like by not being in lane, Hollow lost a wave and a tower plate. So it's a bit of a difficult win. Rift Herald just a little bit more flexible than a lot of other things on the map. Quite excited to see if Rengus goes for the old Riftmaker build here. Really strong into tanks as you're just permanently in combat. The Omnivamp pushes you over their damage threshold. Kurosh starting to get less interested in dynamic play in this mid. Does clear the wave. Hollow's gone for the shockwave action in mid.
Ooh, yes,
What?
action in mid, but in the end, they're just backing off. We do have Belfast Storm, the two members in mid jungle, going closer towards bot, so wonder if they want to get anything done here, maybe potentially. Yeah, just stealing that nice
with this
red.
corrupting potion.
Yeah.
Kurosh is like regened off from the shockwave that tried to clear the wave, clear him out, and stop him roaming away. So he's bought himself a bit of time.
He has indeed. The game has it's a pretty calm early game so far. Not too much action, but it's a lot of tense things building up because of course Verzik's team comp. I mean, this is a team fight. This is. Ooh, mama, you get caught off by something like this. Ooh, like potentially Wildstar here, maybe getting caught off. Has to use the ultimate. Doesn't have flash to get away from these scenarios. Now, the plant is gone as well, so that's just going to be 4 members. Everybody just piling in on Wildstar. Smoke Critter gets the kill.
Yeah, Zerg will get away. A little unfortunate there. It looked like Belfast were confident that they could be up in that jungle. But not able to keep Verzik's bottom lane under their tower. The wave falling away. Okay, let's look across the map. 1 minute left on the dragon. Both teams, under a lot of stress.
Oh, Small Critter caught out. Has to use the flash. The flash response coming out from Vanguard and completely obliterates Small Critter, and Jolly Boy will follow him soon enough. Like, hey man, let's go back together. Boom, they do indeed go back together. A double kill for Vanguard.
Yeah, they come forwards in the 2v2. Great use of Xayah ultimate, It often feels like it gives you a zone of control in front of you. Flashing forwards and placing that on top of your enemy allows you to do so much extra damage and just hold them still in a reliable fashion instead of trying to line that one up carefully. And yeah, Belfast going to be real happy with that. They didn't manage to get much vision down on this dragon, would be my only critique after that winning that 2v2, but they'll base. Got a Kraken Slayer already for Vanguard, some more components now. And no doubt Belfast will be running straight to this Cloud Dragon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're going to have so much advantage in this Cloud Dragon because, Vanguard is absolutely loaded here. 3 kills, like 20 CS up his opponent. Or my bad, more like 10 CS, but you get my point. And the Kraken Slayer as well. This Herald is absolutely needed for Verzik just to get a little bit of gold back towards Small Critter, but they're not allowing him to stay for long because the flash handshake comes out, and that's just Rengus getting the first kill. Jolly Boy narrowly misses the engage coming out from Rengus, so can he survive? No, he cannot. That's a double kill coming out from Rengus. Lars TP'd as well, but his TP did nothing compared to what Rengus did.
Turn the clock back. That's a classic 2019 teleport if I've ever seen one. Forget this, modern era teleport top. Your rumble might come down later on if you want. No. We send the assassin. We send the tank right into bottom lane. And Belfast score the kill, score the objective. The snowball has left the station.
Quite a statement play there from the side of Belfast Storm. They are playing with confidence and with absolute swagger. These guys are styling on Verzik currently. The bot lane of Small Critter and Jolly Boy have had misfortune after misfortune, play after play.
Yeah, confidence in the 2v2. It's really the way Belfast have pushed out that bottom lane. They've come back to lane twice and just ran at their opponents knowing that their advantage demands respect. And in these off assignments now, it was quite funny that Verzik scanned everything but the red ward that allowed Kurosh to know they were coming. There's a little bit of a mystery there as to why they didn't maybe pick him out, or it seemed like, they just evade everywhere we're going. Belfast could move their bot lane up to mid here and try and get that one through and going. Instead, they're trying to punish Lars. They get him nice and low. This will demand Verzik respond. Sends their mid laner to bot lane, who then turns around. And now Goldie on this bottom side as well will have to pay attention.
It's just so much advantage accumulating for the side of Belfast Storm. I feel like Zerg is playing kind of out of his mind because, you mentioned about Vanguard and that excellent play with the Flash ultimate to get that kill on Small Critter, but honestly, even Zerg himself was, kind of crazy with these handshake catches. Speaking of getting caught out, Hollow is caught out as well. Oh, yeah, uses the shockwave, but it's not enough. Boom! Smack down onto Hollow, and that's Kurosh with a nice little emote as well, getting that kill together with his fellow jungler.
Yeah, it's either a fantastic honeymoon phase with Kurosh returning to play with these guys, or Excellent teamwork, and both ways, Belfast really enjoying this early game, all the way up to 3,000 gold now. Meaningful leads. We're going to start to see item gaps coming out, especially as Kurosh gets closer and closer to his Manamune in mid. And yeah, they're having a great time right now. Rotations will be important when you've got this 1-3-1-esque style. You need to bring the right pieces together at the right times. Else, Lars will engage.
Ooh. Here comes Lars with the critical engage. The Call of the Forge God unfortunately cannot get the second stack because he was too busy fighting his own teammate with that excellent ultimate coming out. And it's all Vanguard right now, together with Rengis, cleaning up the rest of the team. And that's just a clean ace for the side of Belfast Storm. The Herald, a crown on their head.
Forget the Irish goodbye. This is the Irish hostile takeover as Zerg absolutely wipes Verzik's chances there. The Renata is going so well. So proud of this team for holding onto a pocket pick. I don't think we saw a Renata game out of them all season. And in game 1 of this lower bracket run, a best of 3 to decide who stays in and who falls away from this tournament, Belfast execute perfectly. Vanguard not quite there yet. And you know, that hostile takeover denied the Ornn ultimate because the Unstoppable was out already. And it just ensures Belfast the objective and the next move out on the map.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's so interesting, right? Because, like, pre-game talks, we were talking about Lars, we were talking about Vanguard, we were talking about Kurosh, but, hey, man, this is the Zerg show right now. He is playing absolutely out of his mind on this Renata. Like, I am so impressed, honestly.
Straight to playoffs, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta save the good stuff, and then you burrow up in your enemy's base. It's the wrong RTS, I know, guys, but just let me be old for a minute.
I see what you mean with the
It's like,
StarCraft
surprise! Good composition.
Oh man, and speaking of good composition, so far Belfast Storm's composition is absolutely working out for them. They are already 6k gold lead. Oh my god, here we go again.
Yep,
Kurosh into Hollow. Hollow, you don't even know what's coming, buddy. You don't even know what's waiting for you.
Does he know?
Wait. Oh my god, the
We
Observer's
know, we
playing with us, but
know.
no, he does not know. This is Hollow getting absolutely smacked down again by Kurosh. He's on a rampage now.
Yeah, that is a little brutal. That's very much why control mages suffer in the side lanes, why your Azir, your Ziggs can be so valuable, because of their resilience, their range. They can attack from Orianna, not quite so blessed. Will fall away in the side lane as, small critter. Counter jungle's the counter jungle. Both teams here, this is so pivotal for their years. We're not at the high energy of game 3 potentially just yet. But giving away a large advantage here puts you in such a difficult spot after both teams tried so hard this autumn to reinvent themselves, to push forwards, to give it their all.
Oh man, and now with the dragon up, I mean, yeah, third dragon in 18 minutes and just Belfast Storm already setting up everything beautifully. I mean, you know, we don't talk about it all the time, but that Maokai always being able to provide vision with the Sapperlings is like so big in scenarios like this. Just make sure every angle is covered. No one's... Oh, Zerg just... Oh my god, the sheer amount of respect. Zerg just flashing, like forcing out the flash from Smoke Critter and Jolly Boy having to pay with the price.
Yeah, a cheeky pick. Rengis will be picked out himself in the burn. The damage that follows him through the Shroud, enough to finish off the top lane assassin Belfast. 4 and 4. Verzik are missing more of their engage pieces, while they still do have the Jarvan to carry Orianna's orb into the fray. And while they still do have Ornn, they will not be able to approach the objective meaningfully. Belfast will still walk away with the objective, even though they lost one person on rotation.
Yep, and that's just so many things going against Verzik. I mean, 7k behind, 3 dragons behind.
Yeah,
the Baron's
out
up
of
in like a
hand.
minute. Yeah, it's looking super rough. I mean, is there anything from your point of view that they can do? Like, what's the angle they should take to maybe potentially try to come back from this game?
If you had something more like, and you know, we're not just saying it because Lars's Fiora is excellent. If you had like a pivot point you could move around that wasn't just Kaiser, a short range AD carry, Verzik would have more chances in this game. Alas, without a big shockwave and wombo combo, which should be impossible because of the hostile takeover, if it's on top of you, you can't miss. The disengage tools from Belfast should make, however they choose to play it, the 1-3-1 with the unit of 3 unengageable upon Approaching the side lanes is so difficult. The Akali is so slippery and great in the 1v1 with this traditional Riftmaker build. Attacking the Jace so difficult because if you do, you've left 2 winning lanes over. You have to send Orianna and someone else. Verzik, it's a creative time if they do manage to get out of this. It's sort of the ingenuity, shadowing side lanes, trying to get some vision in. That's the way they can try and break free of a 10 kill deficit. 7,000 gold down.
Yeah, no, well said, and they have to try their best. One thing definitely to note with Smoke Critter, I mean, you said he's the hope of, like, Verzik in this game, but it's going to be tough because from the build I'm seeing, it's the Ghost Blade and the, that other item, the support item that's supposed to be a support item, but, you know, Kai's like building it.
Glaive.
The Umbral Glaive. I'm concerned about this build because if I'm correct, this is a build that's much more of an early game build, right? Oh, Zerg potentially called out, uses the hostile takeover, making sure that everybody is disengaged, but Vanguard playing with absolute balls at the moment. My god, there comes the ultimate. Vanguard flashes out, Zerg is caught out, and he goes down alone. Ooh, comes a nice shockwave into the Magnet Storm. So that is Vanguard dead, but now the rest of the team comes in for the revenge. And yeah, that's just too much gold accumulated for the side of Belfast Storm, and Verzik cannot match them.
Belfast's triple threat ensues there, and you're right, Vanguard played that with impunity up in the front line, trying to do as much damage as possible, just about falls. I think if Zerg himself had one extra get out of jail free card, be it the Gale Force, be it Zerg's Flash, could have maybe managed the front line better. Weren't able to. Rengus should still be fine here. He will be healing as soon as he is in combat with his champion.
Oh no, I feel bad for Lars. Lars, you're not on Fiora, mate. You're just a tank. And now, Kurosh on his game is godlike.
Yeah, game 1 of the Four Nations. No better time to come in than exactly when you're needed, you know? Maybe Kurosh is just Gandalf. He's arrived precisely when he means to.
Oh yeah, no better timing than now, especially when there is a potential chance that your team gets eliminated from UKEL playoffs. The timing could not have been more perfect, but for Verzik right now, none of the timing is matching for them in terms of their power spikes and when they can go in and do any fights.
Yeah, looking at the assignments, happy that Verzik is still feeling comfortable sending people up into the lower river, setting up for this dragon. I think it's a sign of a team that haven't given up yet. That's good stuff. They are pushed up a little bit too far in mid, but I don't think Belfast can do anything about it. Instead, let's look at how Wildstar sets up for Baron and tries to dissuade Verzik from coming forwards.
Yeah, we have a setup here, Goldie and Jolly Boy, but they might have been caught out themselves, actually. Woohoo! The nice blast plan to make sure that Jolly Boy can run away from that situation. But oh, wow, Rengus just deals so much damage. A nice little side step too coming out. Now Lars is the one that's chased through. Rengus is on the killing spree. Lars uses the call of the Force God. Oh, maybe gets the ult, maybe gets the kill. But no, you have, of course, the fight or die. And at that moment, Rengus decides to fight.
A quick revive. Unfortunately, and the bottom side, Kurosh did go down to small crit. The one advantage of that lethality build. It does cut through squishy targets, including that first auto attack crit. Tries to get the Kaiser sorted that way. And I think... Oh, Rengus trying to just take out small critter. Doesn't need the ultimate for that one, my friend. Like, he made Goldie look like an AD carry there and just shredded him to pieces. Why not do it to the actual AD carry as well?
Oh man, I mean, Belfast this game are playing with absolute style. I mean, they are just like they're kind of like the NBA All-Stars or something like that, just slam dunking on their opponents, just left, right, and center right now. Especially Rengus on this Akali's super flashy performance. I mean, we knew Rengus was an amazing player, but this is something that, only, the veterans would, like, appreciate. I mean, just look at this guy. He's styling. He's way too unstoppable. Look at Goldie's HP. Where was it? There was a Goldie. Past tense.
Where'd he go?
Emphasis.
Where did Verzik's jungle and support go? Those are meant to be the tankier members of this team. We've got a control mage. We've got a traditional AD carry for Rengus to fire away on. And it's so nice to see this veteran top laner just pull out something comfortable, pull out something old to start off a series. It sets you up with such distance to play with your opponents in further on in the series. Teleport in and ultimate will start. See Kurosh returned upon too.
Oh, okay, here we go. A little bit of a catch on to Kurosh. Kurosh doesn't have the flash, so he will definitely go down. Oh, wait a second! He deals too much damage! He gets the kill into Hollow! Oh, wow.
A little bit of healing there from the Eclipse. And the surge on the Moramal Mortis. In the meantime, Belfast are just, you know, moving the boundary line through Verzik's base.
Yeah,
And,
at this point,
yeah.
like, Verzik's base will also be past tense. My god. Their base is absolutely crumbling, and they just don't have too much they can do. Look at Rengus, look at Vanguard. My
I think
god.
it's fair to say we've had a demolition in game one. Verzik maybe now feeling the
God.
pressure.
For sure. And if they're not feeling the pressure after this game one, for sure they will do after this, because like you know, if they do lose this game, which seems more likely than not, it's going to be like they're only gonna have one game left, one more chance to like come back from this situation, and Zerk with a nice ultimate disengages.
Yeah, it's the tough part about best of three. You think, oh, a series, but after one game, one team already back up against the wall, forced to try something new, forced to reconsider their game plan. You know, it's that difficult thing. Do you run the same thing back? Do you try and reinvent yourself? I think in this case, Verzik might have jumped the gun and tried to reinvent themselves in game one. 5 bans for Lars. I think it's fair to say, with the Yone as well. And it's definitely worked. I think the rest of Verzik, not enough juicy picks in the tank. Not enough they could do with a free draft to try and push themselves forwards. Belfast starting to come back off base, starting to look to get onto Verzik's Nexus.
Yeah, I mean, Belfast, this definitely is not a team you would expect to be on the 5th, 6th place. Like, game one, they are playing very dominantly. Oh, crazy engages coming out. Zerk goes down so quickly. Same with Wildstar, but oh my god, a double kill! An absolute assassination that Rengus is doing is not enough. You get the 2 support members, but the 3 carries from Belfast Storm are way too untouched and way too strong.
Yeah, the triple threat comes through, and the unfortunate thing is Verzik didn't manage to get a single one. Kill Vanguard, and 2 other heads will rise up.
Is Belfast Storm Hydra?
They are now, apparently. Congratulations to Belfast. I think it's fair to call them lower bracket Illuminous at this stage. More on that later, though. I'm not going to jinx this. We can't give away the whole story in game one, Eugene.
No, of course not. I mean, Verzik still has the chance to like completely do a sweep, like 2-0. Like, you know, they can win the next 2
your best
games.
top laner. That's all you got, right?
Hey, you know, at this point, maybe they just first pick for Lars. You know, just like secure.
Hover.
Like,
I saw that Tryndamere hover, Verzik. That was
Yeah.
rude. And now look at you. 4-1. Demolished in game one. Let's see something a bit spicy. Let's see if Verzik can come up with something new, come up with something creative, and fight for survival in game 2 of this series. We'll be back after a quick break.
Yeah. Yeah. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. People wanna talk that talk in reality. You have not seen me in action. You think the come up comes overnight. You ain't behind the scenes. Trust me, these things don't just happen. No shade to Gerald, but G's don't come easy when you tryna eat out producing and rapping. I read that contract you sent me to sign, but excuse me, I can't help myself, I'm just laughing. Hey, you tryna cut out a piece of my pie, and I asked you politely, what's it that you offer me? Yeah, I produce all my own beats, and I have no intention of losing my publisher. Yeah, independent individual, boy, I've been eating off passive residuals. Yeah, let's be professional. Thanks for your time, but I had to decline at that principle. I've been scheming up a plan, hey. I've been saving all I can, hey. You could call me David Ramsey. The way I handle these bands, hey. We ain't messing with the old model. New era, new kid, we full throttle. Just know that the come up is not a flaw. My amigos, they focus, know what to do. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it.
Yo, look, I ain't saying that I'm rich, cause if I'm honest, I've never been. But when I look at all these other kids, I feel just a little bit ahead of them. You should know the business is competitive. There's a lot of people that I'm better than. Even veterans ain't got the knowledge I do. I've been reinvesting all I ever spent. Stop pretending like you poppin'. Who been out here making profit? Told my mama that I got this. I wonder if she noticed what my job is. I don't know how I'ma make it, but I know no matter what, I'm finna find a way. All my homies finna eat and I ain't letting no one on my team look at an empty plate. Yeah. Went from a boy to a man, ayy. Every day been making plans, ayy. They don't really understand, ayy. Gotta look out for the family. I won't fall for any scam, yeah. Only worried about the fans, yeah. I won't compromise the brand, yeah. I've been saving up the bands, whoa.
After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it. Spending money in some really funny ways, man. I promise you ain't really getting paid. Yeah, show a couple bands flexing on the Instagram, and nobody getting fans that way. Yeah, well, you really dumb if you spending all your funds on some clothes and your tape need work. Yeah, you ain't gonna stand if you ain't a businessman, man. I promise you the plan ain't gonna work. Yeah, rappers spending money in some really funny ways, man. I promise you ain't really getting paid. Yeah, show a couple bands flexing on the Instagram, and nobody getting fans that way. Yeah, well, you really dumb if you spending all your funds on some clothes and your tape need work. Yeah, you ain't gonna stand if you ain't a businessman, man. I promise you the plan ain't gonna work. Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. Synergy is in the fog zone right now, but there he is.
There we
He's
go.
back. He blacked out a little bit after that game, but we've gone back in just in time, returning to consciousness to witness the aftermath of a very emphatic win from Belfast Storm. All across the map, things were going swimmingly for them. We spoke about Lars, we spoke about Vanguard. Certainly one of the two stood out after that game. It was the man in the bot lane, Vanguard, on the Xayah. Sheikah, we've got a player spotlight for him. Talk to us about this Xayah. We haven't seen it before, but I'd be happy to see it again.
Yeah, I mean, this was a very, very strong showing from Vanguard on this Xayah. 8-1 and 13, absolutely throwing part of the team onto his back, but that wasn't the only carry in the game, and we'll get onto that in a little bit, but we said at the start we had concerns about Vanguard on this Xayah, not a champion that can play forwards. Vanguard did well, very well, despite not being stylistically matched to the champion, was able to still find these angles, still find some very, very good blade callers. One comes to mind at level 3 in the bot lane, flashing forward with, not level 3, at level 6, flashing forwards with the Feather Storm and getting a full pullback through Geno. So, I'm happy to eat my words. Yeah, okay, sure. Vanguard can play Xayah.
Yeah, we can say this for sure. The man can play Xayah. But, even that play, a big part of that play, I think, was the Renata coming out of Zerg. And again, this Renata just popping up time and again and becoming so high priority. I think we're even seeing it getting banned at Worlds now, the priority that's had. That's even a couple of patches ago. So this champion is getting more impactful by the day with that counter-engage possibility, but also offering such great 2v2ing, as we've seen out of Zerg when you can find the right angle. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one, see if that does tend to skew the support pool as playoffs continues. But let's take a look at the champion select as a whole. And Synergy, I know you have some thoughts about the comp that Belfast drafted and the way they played out in the game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can always go back to saying, why is Lars not on a split pushing kind of champion?
Yeah.
You did think, this is maybe the game they need to try that. Fine. We've tried it now. You didn't do bad at all. But what can you do when the rest of your team is so far behind because of, the fact that bot lane's gone wrong, mid lane's kind of gone wrong. Jungle's not really gone right either. So I think what we've seen here, and it is only a kind of one game, that we need to see Lars on some kind of split pushing champion. I mean, we kind of saw exactly how we'd expect this game to play out stylistically, in that Belfast got a tiny bit of a lead. They got the carries ahead, and that kind of lack of damage on Verzik really came back to haunt them, especially with Kai'Sa going kind of for the lethality build. They lost the lane, so the kind of the use of the lethality there naturally it's kind of like run its course already because it was so behind. So there was that key moment in the mid lane fight. Actually looked like Vanguard had done a classic overstep. It was, oh no, they're going to get a couple of kills here.
Yeah.
He did die, yes, there was a couple of deaths, but there was great flanks from Rengus, there was a great flank from Kurosh, they came from both sides, pinched them, suddenly got a shock blast coming in, and then Rengus just being like, well, I'm Akali, see you later. And he was a very fed Akali, and obviously got to shout Rengus out, incredible performance on him. Kind of on the playmaking champion we'd normally expect from Lars, and it's nice to see that little bit of role reversal almost in that respect.
Yeah, for sure. It was certainly an interesting dynamic up there. We do have a bit of a head-to-head graphic just to compare the performances here and really just highlight what Rengus did in this game. And this pocket Akali is something that we always have to remember. And just the play style of Belfast Storm moves Rengus towards a certain archetype so many times. But he does have he's got the 12, 1, and 7 in him. The man can do some absolutely nasty things on these carries and the bruisers if you give him the chance. And, the Ornn, the blind Ornn, I believe it was, gave him the chance, and that was all he needed. So Rengus is ready to punish Lars if the opportunity is there. However, I imagine, as we've kind of said, we will not be seeing the tanks again. At the very least, I don't want to, man. Give him something with a bit of skill expression. Like, come on now. We'll have to try and hope for that. So and we play forward and we assume that Lars goes back onto something a bit more bruisery. Do you think, Sheikah, that Rengus still has the room to play the Akalis and the Aatroxes and the carries and bruisers into a Lars split pusher, into a Lars duelist? Or do you think you'd like to see him cede that position, just go, okay, I will play the weak side better than you guys can?
Possibly. I think excuse me. I think the big problem you would have in that respect is Rengus can run away with these lanes into tanks, right? You've got a very free kind of time. Into Lars's split pusher champions, you know, your Gwens, your Jax, your Fioras, X, Y, Z, you have to be a lot more careful. You cannot confine yourself to saying, okay, I'm going to play Kali, I'm going to run you through. Because you're up against a very good player on a comfortable archetype that can match you at every single point of the game. You have to be very, very careful, and you have to be able to go match him in a side lane later on. Not something Akali is really known for. Aatrox, maybe. Akali, you can't deal with your bruisers super easily. You have to be going for the squishy targets. So I think if the opportunity arises to go for the Akali, the Aatrox, we might see it. I'm not going to hope for it, just on the pure fact that I don't think we see Lars put into a position where that is something you can do, and you by all means cannot blind these champions.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, that gives them the opportunity to kind of go for that red side pick if they want to. At which, if they're able to get that counter pick for Lars, that's going to put them, you know, enables them to play the game they want to much easier. Obviously, being on blue side, they were going to have to blind pick it realistically. Belfast kind of, you know, were waiting for that and expected that, and then they, you know, held back. So I think if Verzik are able to, obviously they do select red side, let's assume that they do, because it's probably the best thing for them. That allows them to play their game that they want to play a lot better, and especially given we've said, yeah, let's probably not go for the Ornn again.
Yeah, I think the Ornn has come out 3 times now in total. I believe it's lost all 3 times. It might have won one of them, but I think it's lost all 3 times. One of them was into Tempest, to be fair. And I think the Fiora is the only 100% champion that he has so far. So, assuming the bans go the same way, if we're just thinking Fiora's banned for sure, Gwen's banned, Jax is banned, they banned the first one as well, the Kayle in second rotation. If we're going for R5 Lars pick, right? Those 4 are all banned. What are we taking here? We know that Rengus has, you know, can go into Cassante, Ornn as solid blinds, maybe an Aatrox as well. If we're thinking about those as the options, does anyone have an idea of a champion that could be played by Lars? Like, or are the bans enough to just neutralize this guy in this archetype that he's been so good at?
I'm thinking maybe if you are knowing you're going to try and last pick top on red side, there's actually a possibility of kind of Verzik playing into that and actually potentially banning out, especially in like second set of bans, but maybe even first, like, oh, we're kind of thinking we're going for this, let's just get rid of the champs that are gonna, that we know, we know our champ pool that we're gonna get, and we know what we're not gonna get, probably. Let's kind of adjust our own strategy and bans to kind of disallow stuff. But Zico, let's go.
Camille.
Yes. Agreed. All right, I like that. I like the Camille.
End the show, guys. See you later.
There we go. Lars picks Camille. It's 2-1 Verzik. We'll see you on Saturday. Yeah. Okay.
Immediately wins the entire rest of playoffs. That's it.
We could exactly. 1 minute. We could also see something like, and I have a list of champions in front of me because I can't remember.
Yeah, I opened up
Lolix
tier top lane. What champions are in this game?
So Darius is another option that could come out. Probably not, but it's an option.
Darius.
This isn't necessarily
Spirit into playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't necessarily like a split push carry champion, but it is something that someone mentioned has been played a lot in the top lane by Addy, and that is the Galio. Has been pretty terrifying for most top laners to deal with. Something like the Gnar can also be very, like Gnar Alawi can also be very, very scary.
Yeah. Gnar has a low-key great outplay potential as well, right? Like, it's tanky and you can be team fighting, but you can also really dominate someone in a 1v1 with Gnar.
When you've got the split pressure as well, like, he's not a terrible split pusher, he does that kind of well. You know, it would be a good half and half between being on a tank and then being on a raw split pusher like Fiora.
Yes.
Okay, so we've sorted Gnar's draft. Let's go into the draft. Let's find out what he's actually going to pick, what the coaching staff and Verzik have for us. The only other one that, if anyone who's that good at Fiora, is probably really good at Riven. And I could go a Riven top, honestly, in comp.
Yeah, Yasuo,
it really
Aurelia
sells it for me. Yeah, just something with those mechanics, and let's find out what it's going to be. Okay, so I'm assuming the bans in Belfast Storm are going to be pretty much the same. For Verzik, though, does anyone want any changes from what they did? Last time it was Vayne, it was Nico, and what was the last mid lane?
It was Bard, they've just banned.
And Bard, right? So, do we want to shift anything from the Verzik side, or is this still a solid first 3 to take out? You think Vayne and
I
Nico are fine still to ban away?
Orianna.
Yeah, I would drop the Vayne personally, but they haven't. as I say that, of course.
The Kurosh Chase, is it too good to let through? Or
See, I don't know why we're banning Nico when it's not Limsey playing. I don't think Kurosh plays it. At least if he does, I don't remember it, so it probably wasn't that successful.
The last time he was in UKL, the champion, I don't think, was even released, so I don't think he could.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting rid of Orianna...
95 years.
Getting rid of Orianna, because she's strong, every mid laner is comfortable on her, and she's blindable.
Maokai is fine. It was solid early on.
You get rid of Maokai Jace, which you guys don't play yourselves, but you leave that open.
You've left the
there's no reason
Orianna
not to take Ori right now, right?
Yeah. So they had the answer in the Jace. Does Hollow have the answer into the Orianna? We've seen him play things like the Yone, which is banned. We've seen him play things like the Vex, which do have a long-range engage if they can have a nice jungle to punish, maybe.
Syndra.
I think he's played Azir a game or two, and Azir is not awful into Orianna, right? So
yeah, you've got the range. We've seen Azir's perform well into it, just using the range for engage. We've seen the Galul Azir, but the Victor maybe not Shaker's favorite option. The rail has been locked in, so we'll see if that goes into the swap, but it is the Vex. Okay. So I think we're just funny going for, if Goldie can get his hands on J4 again, we might just be looking to try and push down Kurosh and just press R on the Orianna and see if that works, which is fair. But we are still going to need to see that late game win game insurance come from somewhere else, because Vex is never ever going to be that. So the Xayah back for Vayne God as well, blind this time, not picked into the Kai'Sa. Clearly think, man, this champion's actually kind of good. I should just play this all the time. Everyone's blinding this these days. I'll just join them. Locks it in.
Pick Ezreal.
I was slightly surprised that actually they went for the Vex so early, because I was like, feels like if you're going to take your mid pre-second ban phase, just take it 3 and grab a good AD carry here. But maybe they want to see what Belfast will go for and adapt with the AD carry pick. I'm more of a fan of going, getting a solid pick in early and getting something you're going to do well on.
Yeah, Vayne God does have such a compact pool, though, that I think it is fair to try and let him pick from something that is inside that smaller pool and then try and use your ability to counter. And there's the Ezreal, Happy Sheikah.
They are going back to all reliable here. This is we're setting up for Lars on something.
You don't need to play around Gino, and it's so damn good into Xayah.
Yeah. We
opted
opted
for as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your autos aren't super heavy hitting, so
So we opted to get this Rel and prioritize the Vex and the Ezreal, bit of comfort, bit of counter in the bot lane. So we left the Gwen into the next rotation, which means it is, of course, never going to make it. So there maybe was an angle to try and just blind something that Lars is definitely successful on, which is the Gwen. And it's not a hugely punishable champion, the Gwen, especially when they have more bans to take away, the Akali and the Renekton, as we can see. So maybe I would have liked to see that, but I don't think the Ezreal would have made it, right? I think it might have been banned away in that second rotation, or at least at some point in game 1. As the Lars bans come through, and we'll see what the answer is. Please give this man counter. Just give him the counter.
There's no way they don't go jungle or support, depending on where this role is going. They would just be the biggest.
Jarvan is open. You've got Jarvan. Rakan is also fine.
I very much like this duo.
Yeah.
For one main reason, why would Rakan ever need to stay in lane with an Ezreal into Xayah Renata?
Yep.
I also think it's nice for them to have Rakan as actually. I know Rakan's traditionally an engaged champion, but he's very, very good at disengaging as well. Like if you just kind of sack yourself and actually please, I'd love to see Olaf. We've seen a little bit of this in Division 2. It's very good.
Yep, I think the Rumble would also be good into the Kasante. There it is. Okay, so Lars is going to be doing a bit of whopping, a bit of wailing on the Olaf. So we have him back on a carry. Check. We wanted that. We have the Gino Ezreal. Sheikah definitely wanted that, so that's good as well, right? And then we've got Hollow still on comfort, and I like the CC mid-jungle duo they have. They can be very proactive with these champions. So I like what Verzik has done here. It's less focused. It's less all got one kind of solid mission that it can follow, but I think individually these pieces are better, and Verzik don't win by being the better 5v5. They're just not going to be that today, I think.
Belfast have just taken a flat 180. Here in their draft. They're still looking to go forwards, and just in a very different way. You're looking to play ball delivery with Vi, and just play around the fact that Vi can go into the enemy backline and make people's lives hell. Problem is, you ult onto Ezreal, you get an arcane shifted even further back. You ult onto Vex, you're getting feared away. So realistically, you've got a couple of options here. but none of them great. And again, Xayah, you're playing forwards. It's going to be very, very difficult to ever cut forwards. I think in an outright 5v5, Verzik actually do have a little bit of an edge this game, just on the fact that how Belfast want to play is very disjointed this game. Whereas Verzik is we're going to use Ezreal Vex to just poke you the ever-loving crap out. We can move our mid-jungle support around as a unit, make sure that this Olaf can get a lead and start snowballing, which is what you're looking for, and then just let Ezreal become a champion in his own time, because this lane has no kill threat without the jungler appearing. And even if the jungler does appear, again, you've got Arcane Shift, you've got Flash, you should be fine. Would have still preferred the Camille over the Olaf, personally. I think it would have done very well in Sante. You can match him in all out, you can match him in tank, you can just do more around the map in general, increase the damage that a certain person is taking. And in a game like this, where you've got an Orianna and a Xayah, both two very immobile champions, you can very easily blow them up. But I do like this Verzik draft a lot more than I was liking it last game.
Yeah, I'm completely agree, to be honest. I think, it's going back to what we know they're good at, and this is the reason they are here in the playoffs in the first place. I think it enables them to do exactly what they want. As you kind of said about the Ezreal, it's like you have no issue just leaving Ezreal bot lane against Vanguard for 5-10 minutes. It doesn't matter. Rakan can do what he needs to do to ensure that Vex doesn't fall behind, or to get Olaf ahead. And as long as they get to a point where they're consistently kind of able to wave clear without getting pushed in too much, I think they're going to be fine. The only issue I would see is if we assume that Olaf and Cassante are going to be stuck around in top lane a lot, then we're looking at a 4v4 matchup. There's a lot of good dive on the side of Belfast Storm from Vi, of course. If she can get a flank under a tower, the rest of Verzik they're not super tanky. They could very easily fall prey to good, well-executed tower dives. However, we would need to see really good, solid play from Belfast Storm to set that up and make sure that happens. If Verzik gets to a point where they can wave clear, that's maybe not even a threat.
I think for me, just we are going to get into the game very shortly, I think for me, the only worry I have with Verzik's comp, I like the direction they've taken it. I think late game, they're going to suffer a lot. I think they do not have any good scaling damage, and generally, their damage profile is actually quite light. Olaf has great single target damage, you can chase down and focus a carry. Vex has one good damage combo, after which she has nothing. She has nothing to offer. The cooldowns are long, great burst on one target, but if that does not work, it's going to be bad. And then it's all on Gino to do a lot of work on an Ezreal, which can do it if they're strong, if they're ahead of the curve. But I just don't know if it's going to be enough if it goes late, and that's where Belfast love to live. But Sheikah, last words before we go in.
The single problem that Verzik are going to have is if this Olaf falls behind, you have no way to kill tanks. Ezreal is not good at it.
Yeah,
Vex is
100%.
worse
Actually, would have quite liked a Ziggs here. I think
tanks,
like a Ziggs mid here, just to stall and stall and stall.
Would have been nice.
Actually, really, really nice.
I always like Ziggs. Ziggs fits into any comp ever, and I'll die on that hill. Just mid or bot, you can make it work always. Yeah,
Leandra should have a secondary tank killing kind of.
Itemization is surprisingly good. You can burst, you can be Leandry's damaging. Yeah, it's great.
I've been told that my Ziggs impression is second to none, so I would have been happy for it.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
This'll be a blast.
Oh my god, it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. That's crazy.
Respect.
That's crazy. I thought it was not going to be good. Wow. But with that, into the game we go. Verzik fighting for their tournament lives right here. Belfast on the cusp of moving on in the lower bracket, as they love to do. Back over to Ejun and Temporal. Let's find out if they can.
Thank you very much. And yes, we will have to see. It's going to be an exciting game. Verzik needs to win this one, and this time their draft is looking a bit better. I mean, this time we do have Lars on something that isn't a tank, and Olaf, baby. Now that's how you do a carry performance. Temporal. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. It's classic Olaf gameplay where it's like, yeah, we see the line, we see where he can run down the AD carry, where he can run down the Orianna. However, I think all of these carries together in one place might prove a little bit too much. Verzik at level 1, bit of a disrupted profile. It will be found out here
no,
is
Jolly Boy. Completely in the wrong place here. Vanguard using the flash, trying to chase after his Volley Boy, using his own flash, but can he get out of the situation
10
at
seconds.
all? Or, yeah,
No,
he's
wait,
going to have to
10
try to go
seconds.
for the execute. I mean, that's basically the best
5,
course of action.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, and the
got it.
execute is done. Wait, that's not too bad then. Flash for flash?
No, it's alright. It's alright. A little bit of experience will have gone over there. Not sure if it latched onto the Orianna properly or not. That will give you an extra minion at level 1.
Wow, actually, kind of a crazy start already. I mean, if we talk about things that are a little bit more concrete, how do we feel about Rengis versus Lars? But Rengis this time playing the Cassante. I mean, we all know the famous showmaker meme with the Cassante, just like yeah. How do we feel about that into the Olaf?
40 mana, knockbacks, etc. Cassante tends to struggle with Olaf. Anytime he's trading, you're well in range for an axe. The level 1 of Olaf doesn't change really for about 10 years, where you just wait for someone to come close to you, expend your whole mana bar throwing Qs, and we'll see Lars started off here. Should have probably doubled up on that. The minions won't do as much damage as our Berserker can get back from healing. And it is able to push even tanky champions like the Cassante out with a little bit of armor shred. And yeah, dangerous lane for the Cassante, oddly enough.
Ooh, and let's see, this is the beginning of the trade here. Nice sidestep coming out for Rengis, but of course, this is not a very good trade coming out from the side of him in the end. That Olaf early game sure is scary. I mean, it's giving me, like solo queue PTSD at the moment.
Yeah, it's a classic if you want to just ruin your enemy top lane. This day works great into picks like the Riven and the Fiora as well.
We do have Goldie.
Solo queue terror.
Yes, Goldie with the flash engage into. Oh wait! Oh my God! The observer's going kind of mad over here because it's going to be Rengis with the first blood, and now we're following it up here with Kuros getting caught out. Can he get out of the way? Yes, he may be able to. Meanwhile, we do have Wildstar now caught between a rock and a hard place, and he goes down. Hollow with a kill as well. Verzik with an excellent start. Can they get a third? Though he's satisfied with 2. Wow.
Yeah, forcing Kurosh back to base and off of that cannon minion. No mean feat either. I think that Olaf really just thrives in this sort of environment. We've got to slow it down over here without flash. Rengis not able to escape that all-in. And it's Verzik's strengths in this composition. Goldie gets a crash down onto Kurosh, who wasn't ready to hold that position. And in coming to his mid laner's aid, Wildstars also breaks his early game. Zerg trying to make the best of it here.
Oh, the Ignite comes out too. Zerg gets that kill, so this will be nice for Kuros. Alleviates a bit of pressure here on mid lane at least.
Yeah, we'll let him get ahead on the minions as well. Not a big deal. The Kurosh did not manage to pick up that kill. More important that the mid laner survives, does not entertain a trade. And Hollow will, from being up in the lane, from getting that takedown, suddenly summon a spell down.
Oh my God, this game is non-stop action. Yet another trade starting out here between Jolly Boy and Zerg. But hey, last time I checked, supports, they don't deal too much damage to each other. So they're both just going to slap each other like 10 times and then back away.
Yeah, a little bit of support combat. Not too bad, not too bad. A bit of a moment of weakness here on the map for Belfast Storm. Wards in their jungle, and a mid laner and support on base means you probably shouldn't be trying anything too funky. Rengis here does have the level up. He's going to try his best.
Oh, wait, no, this Rengis wins. Or am I completely wrong? The Olaf solo queue proves again, when you think he is low, don't go in. Just back off.
Yeah, the shield, the attack speed, too much at low health. And as soon as Lars popped his W, just able to push through and do enough damage. You have to be so careful as Cassante in this lane, because every time you entertain that all-in that the champion is just so great at going all out, or even in this case, just trying to exploit and push around someone on low health, you invite the Olaf comfort zone.
Yeah, I mean, Temporal, maybe it's just me, but champs like, Olaf and Warwick, who just baits you into being really aggressive into them because they're only like 100 HP left, man, I don't like those champs, I'll be honest. But at the moment, Kuro's just not liking what's happening to him in mid lane, but there is a counter gank coming out from Wildstar. So now things have turned around, the momentum has shifted. Both of them get frozen. But no, okay, yet in the end, Kurosh gets that kill. Can he run away with his life? We'll see. The Q comes out, dodges the Q, cannot dodge the Ignite. It is a point and click, but the amount of shield that comes out from Rengis and the Orianna make sure that Kuros is absolutely safe here. Zerg here just to make sure that nothing else happens. And yeah, that's just a nice kill for Belfast.
Yeah, great disengage, reminiscent of reminiscent of game one. And yeah, I don't think Lars was going to go Ragnarok to try and chase after them. They're a little bit too far away. Great work. I want to highlight from Kurosh that his ball placement there was fantastic. He used it on himself to protect himself, buff up his armor and magic resist at just the right time as Wildstars is behind top. This is dangerous with the Ragnarok.
Oh, wait, with the Ragnarok, I mean, he is completely just CC immune. He can run away, no problem. But now, of course, obviously, when Rengis goes all out on that Cassante, he deals a buttload of damage. So he gets that kill as well. Man, what a crazy game.
Fantastic all-in and heads up to Wildstars. Didn't feel disrupted at all. Small critter, no.
Oh my gosh, that was absolutely dangerous there for a second. He was able to get out with his life. Jolly Boy there to protect him.
Yeah. Henshin now as Belfast. I think it's fair to say they haven't executed quite as cleanly as last game. In the early game, they haven't sort of got the snowball rolling. But despite Lars being 2-1, they still hold a gold lead. They still have this presence, especially in mid lane. It looks like Hollow's having a bit of a tough time staying up on the wave after being sent back to base. Belfast still with a line in on this game, and actually closer in the bottom lane than you would expect. Maybe some caster minions going missing from Vanguard. And Small Critter missing some melees.
Yeah, Hollow for sure. I mean, like you mentioned, is struggling here. Like 28 CS to 48. Almost half the CS essentially. It feels like maybe he's like struggling a bit with the champion. But ooh, Zerg gets a little bit low. Nah, it's just going to be some even trades. I do wonder though, as the game goes on, like this matchup, will it be like start to become easier for Rengis on this Cassante?
Probably not. As soon as the Black Cleaver comes through, as soon as you have a Stride Breaker on the Olaf, he's going to go so fast, deal so much damage. And I think in the side lane, it's hard for Cassante to stand up for that. There's no real means for a tank to evade those conditions other than like loads of healing, something Cassante only does when he's in combat. Verzik here, they'll move over to a Cloud Dragon after pushing Zerg back in lane, and while Vanguard's come back, that 2v2 we highlighted that was such a strength last game, not able to push forwards. Belfast might try and go for some exit frags here, they might try and make the best of this.
Yep, Goldie is half HP, uses the Magna Storm, uses his, or no, my bad, he didn't use the Magna Storm, but he tried to get away, he couldn't. He goes down, a nice easy kill for the side of Belfast Storm.
Yeah, nice bit of opportunism. Great to try and get in. Even if you can't contest the objective, just take everything you can from that situation. No minions lost in bot lane. Only 3 melees in mid. Well worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, somehow from kind of just what I felt like was really nice plays from Verzik in the early game, Belfast Storm kind of clawed their way back a little bit. Okay, it's not the biggest hill to climb back to, but still, now they're in a pretty nice position. 4 kills up to 3, about 1.5, gold lead. Starting up the Herald, but Verzik is here to contest. It's only Wildstars at the moment, but he is getting support from his mid lane and support, so we'll see how this Herald resolves. Getting very low. It is Verzik that secures it, and the Magna Storm comes out and gets 3 people from the side of Belfast Storm. You gotta start running away. Look at this guy, Lars. He's just going absolutely ham at the moment. The all-out comes out from the side of Rengis, but it's not enough, and Goldie gets the kill. Verzik is absolutely playing much better than they did game 1. They have a soul now.
Yeah, the resurgence here from Verzik. They'll get the Rift Herald down, and it's going a lot better. You're right, they're coming together as a team. They look more like themselves. I think the big point there was that Belfast once again went for exit frags, got a little bit opportunistic after Wildstars dropped the Herald, and it was just a little bit too much. Jolly Boy was well out of lane. The best way to play this Rakan when you're up against the Xayah, finding her is difficult, finding her teammates quite easy. Coming together, they find it engage, they play it forwards, and without Vanguard there to provide the disengage, with Kurosh being the point that is found, Verzik get their name on the board objective-wise on both sides of the map.
Yeah, and this is why I really like the Ezreal pick too, because, you got Jolly Boy here just kind of roaming 24/7, and Smoker is just completely fine as the Ezreal. He can just like farm real easily, just poking Qs, just being super safe. He's got basically a flash on his E,
Yeah, why not? Odds of him being caught out very slim. The Xayah not really able to aggress unless you find an advantage, unless you get the flash out some way so you can trade your own for the arcane shift. Vanguard will still be pretty happy to just farm away. It's not a bad thing for the Xayah that she can't like continue to push the game forwards. She'll scale fine, not quite as well as the Ezreal, but with this cull, Vanguard, nice and insured for his mid game.
Indeed, indeed. So far, I mean, so far in top, and you know, despite of course Lars getting quite a bit of like, you know, solo kills, farm wise it's pretty even, and I feel like Rengus, you know, he's still in a pretty healthy situation, and you know, you never know in team fights, the Cassante with that X factor, he could just like turn around the team fight by just making someone go all the way to Narnia together with him.
Yeah, it's still options for Rengus. You can always go and attack Olaf's team and make him try and choose between running forwards, running backwards, to peel off his teammates, especially if Small Critter gets very fed off the first few fights he'll be a part of. Rengus got the ult
my
out
God,
there.
he gets
if he
so low.
survives, it's not enough without a teleport now. He took too much damage. We'll have to see what Wildstars can do. No Q there for a few more seconds. This play Agana.
Ooh, I thought for a moment they were going to go in, and yes, here we go. The engage coming out from Goldie, the Magnus Storm coming out, and we do have Kuros completely shut down here. Wildstar cannot avoid Hollow's second ult coming out, so wild, but at least he gets away with his Q. He's going to get out of there, no problem. Man,
Now,
this
we can,
Goldie Hollow combo is kind of sick, honestly.
We can see why Verzik picked the Vex here, rather than something that maybe Hollow would be more comfortable on. You see these plates absolutely get crushed down in mid and top. That's the second greedy rotation from Kurosh that Hollow has just been able to click on his head with and pick out Belfast's mid laner. Oh, this is a deep TP. This is a bit of an ego check as Goldie. Nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, no, they're trying to get the revenge on here. It's like, oh, you keep like bullying me with your jungle duo and stuff like that. Here, take a little bit back.
Teleporting on top of my head. How about I teleport on top of yours?
Exactly, working out really well for Belfast Storm that time, and it kind of works out with the timing of the dragon. The next dragon about to be spawned. Yeah, like the overlay seemed like a little bit wrong. It's not going to be the cloud. It is indeed going to be the Chemtech.
We haven't got a bugged game that just has 4 cloud dragons all the time, and we're not over in the LCK.
Yeah, no, we are definitely not in LCK. We are still in UK last time we checked. But this Chemtech for sure is going to go down. Belfast gets their first dragon of the game. I mean, it's honestly kind of even. It's just like a 1k Goldie for Verzik.
Yeah, Mountain Rift. Very interesting. Belfast have a fair few more champions who are going to get more armor and magic resist. We will see a little out from Lars later on, but he's probably going to go pick up a second damage item first. Wildstars and Rengus probably very happy with this.
Ooh, okay, Zerg getting collapsed in by 3 members. The amount of CC coming out, this guy cannot move for like 10 years. He's playing Dota level of CC right now. You have Vanguard trying to go into Goldie. You know, Goldie's very tanky. He's kind of fine with all that poke.
Yeah,
gets out of there, but yeah, nice
good
kill.
timing. Good timing from Verzik. It's tough for Belfast there. They you know, they don't have that much priority. They choose to go for the vision anyway. Punished.
Indeed. I mean, yeah, I feel kind of really nice about Verzik. I mean, you know, regardless of the result, they're just playing so much more aggressive this game, and so much more like with agency and proactivity, which I think was lacking a lot from game 1. I mean, obviously, like, Belfast was playing absolutely crazy in game 1, so understandable, but still, it's just nice to see a sign of life coming out from Verzik.
You think they keep the faith when they see Lars just getting a slight CS seed? That's required for them?
Yeah, no, maybe when they see that Lars is not playing a tank, everybody just lights up on the side of like Verzik. They're like, oh man, everything's just gonna be fine. Coach, I'm feeling great. Put me back on my role.
Alright. Looking across the map, plenty of pings. Verzik well in time for the second Rift Herald, and Kurosh will find exactly who he's looking for there, as Jolly Boy just peeks his head out of the Belfast jungle. It's a little hard for Rengus to do anything here, as we notice. He watches his minion wave die. That was a shockwave to prevent a dive from Kurosh. Does mean they are giving this objective. And they will not have many tools to remove Lars from their jungle.
Ooh, Hollow surrounded by 2 people. Vayne God is going to get this nice, easy kill for them. Herald is up now, so this is a signal for Verzik if they want to go take that Herald and this mid tower as well.
Yeah, getting that Rift Herald onto a tier 2 in top or mid. Really powerful. I'd personally be holding it for this next dragon to force a difficult choice. To get Verzik back on the objective game. They also have the option to try and go deep on towers, try and go deep on infrastructure. It's really a really creative situation in the next 4 minutes. So I think at 20, Verzik could even try and roll that into a Baron and look to, you know, cement themselves in the series. They've come back meaningfully after game 1, but still not quite over the line yet.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, one kind of thing that I'm kind of excited to see with the macros wise later on in the game is going to be the fact that Rengus has TP, while, you know, Olaf trying to go for that crazy laning phase doesn't have TP, has the flash, and has the ghost. So it means like when it comes to side lanes and stuff like that, I wonder if there's a potential where Belfast could maybe exploit this to their favor.
It's hard. I think side lanes with Olaf on the table is just very rough. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Kurosh in this bottom lane with teleport. Likely going to be staying down there until the dragon spawns, until a pick can be found, or until something comes out of this Baron. Rengus has got a difficult proposition now in game 2. In game 1, he'd be looking to try and go and just rip someone's head off with the Akali right now. Instead, has to go and face up against this Olaf. Can't stay in that lane for very long. Can't do much to the minion wave. And that's the second true shot barrage down mid in 2 minutes. That's really frustrating to play against.
It's just those little pokes, you know, just keep like firing
just
down
like,
the mid
did
lane.
you want to recall here? Did you want to recall here? It's like every few seconds. Very frustrating.
Yeah, game has slowed down a lot, it seems. I mean, from the side of Verzik, of course, they want to be careful. This is elimination game. If they mess up a bit too much, Belfast Storm can absolutely turn this game around and start winning really hard. So, like, you know, totally understandable. But the dragon is coming up in 30 seconds, and this is a mountain dragon. So, for both teams, I feel like this is going to be quite a bit of a high priority they would like to have.
If I was on Verzik's right now, I would completely agree. You need Belfast to be present for you to take a pick on. You want something predictable. You want something reliable. Moving in towards the dragon offers just that. And they have dropped that Rift Herald in mid. They will be looking to make Belfast stay here, clear that one out, as they get onto the objective first.
Yes, and then this is all 5 members together here trying to get this dragon. It seems like a hard contest, so Belfast is not going to be contesting thing.
They've walked away.
Yeah, like Rengus over here just pushing out that top lane. I think that's completely fair. Should be what you're doing here. I think it would have been very ambitious for them to try to contest this one. And that will be the second Drake, which is, of course, the Mountain Drake. Forces out the TP on Hollow to defend this top lane tower. But oh my god, it was a gank the whole time. They knew that Hollow was going to come here. Hollow, get out. You're not safe. But he's actually completely safe because he's actually completely mad and wild and insane. I can't believe he won that 1v2 because Rengus was not tanky because he was going all out.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's still alive. He's still alive.
Wildstar's unable to complete the dive there, and you're right, going all out does shred away a lot of your resistances, turns it to damage. Hollow with the fear, enough time to protect himself under this tower. Jolly Boy is coming up, not sure what he's going to do on his own other than tickle this minion wave. And Lars on the other side of the map. You know, what great moves from Verzik to just say like, Belfast cross mapping. We can just continue to play on this bot side. Chip damage to mid. Tier 1 in bot lane. Trade it over. Not bad at all.
Not bad at all, and of course they're not completely in the driver's seats yet, but they are in a much better position than they were in game 1. 2k gold lead, have a dragon up. 20 minutes, this team is looking healthy.
Looking strong, looking revitalized after game 1. Meanwhile, Belfast on something you would probably call a more metagame composition. You know, it wouldn't be unusual if we saw this at Worlds tomorrow. Not having the success they found with their crazy triple threat in game 1.
Hey man, wait a minute, I thought Worlds was playing on a different patch.
Yeah, no, that's, never mind. Nothing ever changes. It's all League of Legends.
Yeah, this is completely true.
Oh,
a couple patches. Whoa. Starting up the Baron so soon. This will definitely get the attention of Verzik.
Lars does not have TP. He's running from the bottom side of the map, but it's going to be close whether he gets here on time.
Yeah, I told him about that TP, man. He's not going to make there in time because there's only 3k left now. Oh, but Goldie comes in with a crazy Magnet Storm. Everybody from the side of Belfast is so low now, and the team fight starts, and low members into Lars equals death. Look at this guy. He's just running so quick. Vanguard goes down. Rengus, you're next if you don't run away soon, buddy. You better run. Oh, my God, and he gets another...
Oh, jolly boy.
Kill. Oh, okay, there's the ignite. Oh,
no.
Yeah, baby.
No hope for escape as Verzik take the fight. 2 for 5 in favor. And a little unfortunate there, Belfast. Try and spring the objective. Try and make the most of Lars' lack of teleport. They're not quite able to close that quickly enough. They're not able to hold Verzik at arm's length. Belfast wiped off the map. 3,000 gold now, plus this Baron power play.
For sure, Verzik is now in control. They are in the driver's seat. They can dictate the tempo of this match. And honestly, for Belfast Storm, I thought that was kind of a nice, I thought it was a nice call. I thought it could have definitely worked out for them.
I thought it was really going to work. The Berserk, unfortunately, didn't hold back Goldie, who'd already come in, and Hollow found a fantastic angle. Without those two players from Verzik slowing down Belfast, that would have been a Baron and out through top lane, and it would have worked just fine.
Yeah, but instead it didn't work out, so now Verzik, they have a chance. This is a real solid shot at them winning this game and bringing us to an exciting climatic game 3 into Belfast. And I mean, come on, it's not just a victory, it's a momentum victory as well for the side of Verzik, which, that's going to be great going into the next game. It's going to make Belfast Storm nervous. It's going to make them maybe a little bit scared, maybe a bit more cautious, and you can use that to your advantage. But you need to get there first. Game's not over yet.
Game's not over yet. Wild Stars is going in.
Oh my God, Smoke Critter. He's kind of fine because he's Ezreal. He can just E out of that situation.
Yeah, it does eat. Cease and desist to the face. Verzik. They are losing time on their power play, but they are on this bottom T2. Lars on the cross map. Whichever team 1-3-1 seems to just have a huge advantage in this matchup.
Yep, and now Lars trying to run away. The TP is there to dissuade Wildstar from going in, but now comes the counter engage. Hollow together with Goldie, another Magnet Storm, and this time Wildstar can do nothing but just die. Same with Zerg. He's trying to survive as much as he can, but it's not going to be enough, and Rengus also goes down. It's an absolute slaughter right now, but this time for the other side, Verzik coming back alive and trying to bring us to a climatic game 3. Temporal, yeah, baby, this is what I cast for.
Verzik with Lars on something that can deal a bunch of damage, on something that has the presence this player is known for. Find their way through a difficult team fight. It's so hard to see if any member of Belfast can deal damage to this Olaf right now. 5-1-4 with that Death's Dance, so he's just even a bit stickier. Refuses to lose as they move towards Soul Point here. Very difficult to see how Belfast are coming back in.
I mean, yeah, you talked about presence. The sheer amount of presence that Lars has between game 1 and game 2 are like night and day. Like game 1, it was just kind of like, oh, there's a Call of the Force God every once in a while. Yeah, that's kind of cool. But this time, man, Lars is just creating so many like terrible lose-lose situations for Belfast that they just can't make good decisions, and they just keep falling into Verzik's traps.
Hard position to be in for sure. Last game, when Verzik were almost out, I was like, hey, maybe they'll find some creative. These are the reasons they can't do our standard plays. If Belfast are going to win game 2, I think they just have to almost get away with Lars not being there. They have to take a shock engage mid. They have to really find a way in onto Hollow without Hollow being able to counter dive with the Vex ultimate we've seen so effective around these objectives. With Baron 2 minutes away, there's not a whole lot to be done right now. Verzik keeping themselves busy by invading, pushing their vision line forwards. They take control of the west side of the map.
And this is really good, of course. This just makes it so hard for the side of Belfast to do any kind of map play without being in like significant risk. And just Verzik, they're just completely occupying this entire side of the jungle. They're just making sure that they want to make sure Belfast is not having a good time at all. Ooh, look at Smoker. This Ezreal hurts. He's been alone. He's been farming. He's 4-0-2. We didn't really talk about Smoker too much this game, but he is also having an absolute blast.
Ezreal definitely succeeding in being weak side, not because he is weak, but because he's not required attention, he's not demanded. His team get down there to help him. So a strong, stable, and independent AD carry. Yeah, pretty strong showing from Small Critter.
This is absolutely true. They have kind of set up a bit of a split push here with the top, the bot, and the mid, like a little bit of a 1-3-1. There comes the Ezreal ultimate. Very annoying. 3 members chunked down. Zerg having to just back off, kind of like, ugh, not again. At least I get to refresh my wards or something.
Yeah, not much to be done, especially when it was like half of Zerg's health there. The Renata, she's like Enchanter-like in her HP bar. But yeah, tough to see being sent back to base so quickly. Verzik here, having a great time spreading their influence out across these lanes. You do have to make sure they're keeping track of where Belfast go to prevent that shock engage, to prevent 4 people jumping on Lars. But at this stage, he'd almost be ready to take them.
Yeah, Lars is level 16. I mean, compared to Cassante level 13, Lars, for sure, this is his game. This is a game where he is feeling great. And if Verzik wins this game, that's going to be such a confident boost for them going into the next game. Ooh, we also noticed that Ezreal has finished up Seralda's Grudge, so he has to slow with all of his auto attacks and stuff like that, while Star having to use his Q to back off. Currently, Verzik's playing with a lot of confidence. Belfast Storm having to play very scared, very cautious. They can't really just go in just, you know, with the whims of what they want to do.
Yeah, interesting. Hollow's ultimate is out. That has been a huge way that Verzik have slowed down Belfast to get Lars into the best position possible. A little bit of a stalemate around mid here. Verzik with their back to the Baron spawning next. I'm going to try and hold this position, try and invite Belfast towards them as they poke away. Jolly Boy does have the flank, won't hold it for now. Instead moves to the minion wave and gains priority. Verzik have to go now with this lead.
Yep. Here they tried the engage, they got all sped up, but in the end they couldn't find an angle. Backing off. Okay, the shockwave comes out, gets Goldie down kind of a bit low, but I mean it's just, it didn't catch enough people. In the meantime, the Magnet Storm comes out, and in contrast, my god, everybody's just getting absolutely slamma-jamma down. Vanguard trying his best, but it's just not enough. And then once again, it's going to be a decisive T5 victory because Lars, no one can stop this man. No man, no machine can stop Lars. Look at him go with those like axes and stuff like that. Boom, that's just slow after slow after slow, and Zerg is going to go down. Lars is godlike. And with this, I think Verzik might have done it. They might have won this game, and they're going to bring us to a decisive, exciting game 3. Temporal, yeah, baby!
I don't know what we were expecting, but yes, Lars off of tanks. What's such a stark contrast to game 1. Verzik, all they needed was the minion wave as they charged through Belfast space.
Wow, and just like that, I mean, I might have not imagined it from game 1 because Belfast was playing so dominant. But this time, Verzik's ready to slap back. Now with the momentum coming in, being like, nah, Belfast, we ain't gonna give you that 2-0. Boom, 1-2-1, both teams back against the wall. The final game to decide it all, Temporal.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting culmination of someone's autumn split here. Sad chime noises. I think Bard would have been a little bit more fun than Renata there. We'll have to see. Yeah, Verzik come through dominating in their second game. They got their style. They got into their groove. You know, warm-up game over. Belfast, they tried to rely on something a little more standard. Didn't really work out. We'll have to see who gets the paint out, who will continue their lower bracket run in Game 3. We'll be back after a short break. Don't touch that browser.
Oh my.
Yes, okay, Verzik. Okay. We've got something to show here. We've got some team play. We've got Lars on a carry. We've got a victory over Belfast Storm, pushing the series to 1-1. Now, there's a lot to take away from this. I think both teams have shown a very different face from game number 1. There's been a big flip in terms of who looked in control right here, and we're gonna get straight into the replays just to skip forward here. And we saw a lot of action out of mid and jungle. We saw some early kills from Lars in the top side. We saw Hollow and Goldie getting a lot done. And then it came to this 20 minutes in. We have a small lead for Verzik. And I'll hand this one over to you first, Synergy. We've got a BFS Baron call where they just start it up. They just dare Verzik to challenge them. And this is not what I expected to happen. I expect this to be a Belfast-centric call, Synergy.
Yeah, for sure. I think here, the problem is with the comp Verzik have, they do have a tough time engaging. You know, Vex, it kind of wants people in a small choke space like this, right? I think that's going to be kind of one of the key things. When you're all grouped like this, it gives Vex such an easier time to actually get her damage off, despite the fact in the green move we were really not happy with the Vex pick overall. Obviously, they're just kind of stalling here, and I just think Belfast Storm kind of stuck a little bit in the pit, and then, well, you know, there we go. We're in a choke, we get Magnet Stormed, we get Vex feared. it's just like the perfect storm for a team fight that doesn't team comp that doesn't strictly want to team fight. Like Lars is barely here for this. Yes, he does clean up at the end, but he wasn't there for most of that. And it's just an overzealous call from Belfast Storm. Perhaps thought they were a little bit kind of further behind than they were, and rather than just playing a little bit slower and waiting for the Olaf eventually to fall off, because we kind of know that Verzik's comp doesn't have like this late game insurance policy too much. You know, Ezreal's all right, but Vex is going to require an absolute godsend of an ult to do anything crazy.
Yeah.
You know, then you got Rakan and Rel, and if Olaf falls off, so I would just think a little bit too overzealous. Kind of actually very Belfast Storm-esque in a way. You know, they do just tend to be quite decisive and go for stuff, even if they maybe shouldn't. So this was definitely a like go back to normal kind of game. You know, Lars on a split pusher, Belfast overextending a little bit.
Yeah, it felt very much, while I was watching, I remember I saw that call coming up and thinking, okay, I actually love this in Belfast because this is where they should win. This is where they should be better, is a straight 5v5 around an objective, force them to come to you and outplay them in the moment. It's worked for them a lot, and especially against Verzik, who has specifically been weak in that area. But it just falls apart. It kind of, the noob trap fails to close and Belfast get caught in it themselves, right? They end up taking too obvious of a Baron flip and not really putting too much extra thought and guile into it, and then Verzik find the right engage, and then Lars is there to clean up. It was very well executed by them with that chase down. So that was the first kind of big encouraging moment where I thought, okay, Verzik know how to play this out. They're good to use the skills and the champions they have. Let's scale it forward to about 23 minutes in, when Belfast think they've caught Lars out here. They try to collapse him on bot lane, but Sheikah, again, Verzik come to the rescue, and they're showing such great execution once again in these late game fights.
Yeah, if we take a quick look at how the fight plays out, you will see a team that are normally quite disjointed in what they want to be doing in Verzik managed to find something beautiful. Now, here we see an engage onto
This
Gino.
is a different fight, to be clear.
Yeah,
but yes.
It's a different fight. We see a fight onto Gino that they managed to disengage beautifully, and then the TP into mid lane, and slowly everybody from Belfast Storm starts to move bot lane. They're like, right, we can collapse on the Olaf, we can kill Lars here.
Yeah.
But you've got Goldie ready and waiting, and you've got Jolly ready and waiting. Hollow has TP'd, so you've got a really good fight going here. You focus one target, Gino's already jumped over the wall, you immediately turn, focus the next, burns down to bail out, and finally you jump to the Cassante who's taken your AD carry away. You've left the 2 damage dealers completely alone, but they have nothing to follow up on. The rest of the team is dead. There's no peel, there's no safety, there's no frontline, there's no engage, there's no nothing. You are relying entirely on these 2 carries to be able to hold out the game, which they can, but Verzik had a very good target selection. They were able to pick one by one by one, this, there, and back. It was very, very snappy, very, very quick. And I don't know if that's off the back of Lars just being on a split pusher, or if something's twigged in one of the players' minds and they've stepped up, they've become the shot caller, and they've said, right, we play here, we play here, we play here. And they're being very quick with the comms that they're making. Whatever it was, I love it. And I think if we see more of that, Verzik are going to go a lot further than we initially gave them credit for.
Yeah, like it was such a bold call, right? You have your split pusher getting kind of caught out, but everyone commits to saving him, and it's such a bold call to make, and instead of putting themselves in a bad spot and then throwing a lead away, they commit to that play together, fight their way out, and that is a very, very it inspires a lot of confidence in me looking at Verzik, because this is what they've been struggling in. Normally they are losing across the map while Lars is winning in his own lane, but now they don't have to do that. Lars can win in his own lane and they can come and help him win across the map. Very encouraging stuff for Verzik. We'll show up the post-game stats while Synergy, you can add what you'd like.
Yeah, just to add a very quick thing to the end is, like, I think for me, when we determine which teams are good, you know, the better teams, worst teams, whatever you call them, like, it's just how decisive they are. And I think okay, you can be decisive and be wrong, of course, but like being decisive allows you to make plays quickly, and it needs you to all be on the same page, and that's a good sign for a team. So yeah, just that was what to follow up on your point there. Now looking at the scoreboard, these
this
are
is
last
game
game
one
stats,
score,
so I will just quickly have
It's
a
like
look at
this,
the
but
database.
better for Verzik. It's like that, but better.
Well, I mean, we were going to highlight Lars anyway, right? Because he had an incredible game on Olaf, those 2 early solo kills, and he's finished 9-1-4, 268 CS, nearly 16,000 damage. Nearly 16,000 gold and 22,000 damage. He was by far the most damage in that game. So yeah, a huge standout performance from him, and hopefully, well, be interesting in next game what happens, because I have a feeling we're going to see side switched again. Now it's Belfast Storm's pick.
Yeah.
But,
I believe we did hear in the break it
What's
was
next?
side switch.
Yes, we do. I think we have been told by production it is in fact the Belfast Storm red side pick, but it is great to see game one. Rengis takes that carry, goes, I think it was 12-1 on the Akali, massive damage in the game. Then we swap it over. Suddenly he is now on the blind tank. Lars takes over the carry, pops off 9-1, massive game defining performance, but both of them clearly and critically now, because since Verzik has stepped up to this level, they are carries leading a team of players, not a carry dragging a sack of players over the finish line, which is what Verzik had been at times. So that very much shows that they're here to play and they can stand up in the same way and have a single carry, yes, but also have supportive players that you had spoken about, Sheik, in the pregame, about Gino, about Hollow stepping up throughout the season. And we're starting to see more of that now at the most important juncture. They were one game down in the lower bracket. That could have been the end of it. Could have been the end of their season. And now they are still in it, and they've put Belfast Storm on the back foot. The kings of the lower bracket suddenly sweating a little. You know, they might have to try and keep themselves in it to avoid losing that run a little early, and they've got plenty more opponents ahead of them to go through. So with that in mind, let's take a look at game number 3. We've seen these changes throughout the top lane match. We've seen that change in the bot lane as well. And Sheikah, you were very happy with the Ezreal for Gino, right? And we saw that come out right here. Is there something that you think Belfast can do to answer that, if that wants to be the priority for Verzik going forward? Or is Ezreal into these kind of short-range characters that Vanguard likes just a bit of an unanswerable object?
I don't think it's unanswerable, and I don't think that Ezreal outright wins into these shorter range mages. It's very good into Xayah just because you get to poke her down before she really gets to do damage to you. The big problem you come up against playing Ezreal into these shorter range mages is how reliant your damage becomes on landing spells. So into something like a Vayne or a Kai'Sa, it's very, very hard to get that going. So I think if you want to answer it, you go for something a little bit more mobile, or you go for something like the Caitlyn, like the Jinx, something more standard. The Jinx notoriously has a pretty low win rate into the Ezreal, but it can be dissuaded in comp by the pure fact that with a Renata or a Lulu or whatever, you basically get to free run a fight. The Ezreal can still land spell after spell after spell on you, and you will still get chunked, don't get me wrong. But, and this is a big but, it's very, very difficult to play that when you know Lars is going split push. Because even though you have a fine lane into the Ezreal, you will eventually get to a point where you've completely outscaled him. You can't put so much focus on this Ezreal trying to match it without completely conceding your top side, because you have to have jungler come down as well to apply pressure so Ezreal can't push, Ezreal can't find these leads, etc, etc. Ezreal is one of these champions you just kind of have to deal with if you don't want to ban it, because you're never really catching him in a gank. You're never going to be able to outright win a lane against him, realistically speaking, too safe. You have to be winning elsewhere on the map, which would be fine if the Ezreal was picked in game 1. The fact that it was picked in game 2 when you have a Xante top into what you don't know, it's very, very difficult. So I think to play to this Ezreal, you don't play to this Ezreal. You play to the other side of the map like we saw Belfast do in game number 1, and you make Ezreal cry in a corner because as soon as his front line or whatever doesn't exist, how the hell is he ever getting damage out of anywhere?
Yeah,
sorry, that was a really roundabout way to explain that.
it was a strong Ezreal game for Gina the second, for sure, for him. And I think for Vanguard, we saw the Jinx a couple times out of him. We've seen it out of KZ even in the playoffs, right? So we know it's still playable, it's still viable, even though it has been tamped down from its ridiculous levels off the changes. So I wonder if that is the way Vanguard is going to go. If this is at least enough to make him abandon the Xayah, which he was happy to blind before, right? So I think that's probably not possible to do again.
There's a thing, like, I think it was Sheikah mentioned, so, you know, unless you want to ban the Ezreal, I actually potentially don't mind that as a small adaptation from the side of Belfast, because I think what Belfast want in the bot lane is a matchup that makes you want to has to 2v2 at some point. Yeah. Like, even if you take Caitlyn does not survive dives the way, you know, so if you leave Caitlyn on her own at the tower, she is very, very easy to dive. Well, much easier than Ezreal, let's put it that way. So if you ban the Ezreal, force them onto something else, you are guaranteeing to a greater extent that you're going to be able to 2v2. And we know Vanguard and Zerg are going to win the 2v2s most likely, unless something goes horribly wrong. They have shown that already in Series 1. Oh, sorry, Map 1, sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they did ban the Ezreal. I think you can go either way. It just changes slightly how you want to play the game.
If you ban Ezreal, you give over Xayah unless you first pick it. I think Xayah is also very safe from dives. You can also go for something like the Aphelios, when your support just doesn't leave until you have good guns to stop a dive. So typically that'll be Gravitum Infernum or Gravitum Severum Crescendum. You just kind of leave them to their own devices when they have their safety available. So I'm not sure if banning the Ezreal would necessarily completely stub out the safety that Gino can find in this bot lane. We've seen him play very, very safe on a lot of cat champions. I think if you really want to put the boot in, you have to try and force something like game 1, right? You have to try and force them onto one of these more aggressive picks, something like the Kai'Sa, something like the Lucian, the Draven. We don't see Gino play these. You have to take comfort away, and if you can get Gino off of comfort, you can probably slam that bot lane through and through. But
yeah, as we saw it, right, in the game 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gino
Even in a tough
comfort.
matchup, in theory, you know, Vayngod and Zerg were just better at that stage of the game, and that's seems to be that the adaptation was to avoid that stage of the game in game 2 for Verzik. So if they can force them to stick around, force the support to stick around, or maybe just pressure it enough with threaten the dives, make sure they can't just be free roaming with Small Critter and Gino able to just sit and do what he wants, that could be a way for sure for Belfast to stick around here. I think you mentioned the potential adaptation of you add a ban into Ezreal. If you're banning anything that's not a top laner, you see, that seems to be what Belfast has been wanting to do, is banning top laners all the way through today. So my question to you, Synergy, is if we're not banning top laners, what's your kind of read on the value of that, of giving up some of these top lane bans to try and push the rest of Verzik? Now we know they are here to play as well. Do you think this is going to have a material effect on that top lane if you sacrifice some of these bans to affect the map elsewhere?
I mean, if we just assume maybe like one difference about, let's say we go with the Ezreal ban just for the sake of it. Sorry, we ban Ezreal instead and we drop one other. Well, so far it's been Jax, it's been Fiora, it's been Yone. Those are the 3 bans we've had, both games from Belfast. I don't see the Yone particularly as being a huge issue. I also think because Belfast are now on red side, they are getting a counter pick top, most likely. I mean, if draft for some reason goes a different way, fine. But they should most likely get a champion, a counter pick. And if they're doing that, then they're happy in the top lane. So I don't really see the issue. Like if you drop Yone, they're gonna pick Yone top. I mean, that could be mid, for example. But you know you're getting a counter pick. So I don't think it's a huge issue giving up an early Yone pick, for example, in order to get a matchup bot that you want. But I guess we will see soon because we're about to go to Champ Select.
Yeah, let's see what the options want to be. So we'll see for Verzik as well, if they want to keep that early first 3. The Bard is there. I imagine they'll be happy to keep the Vayne off there. And they didn't ban the Nico in game 2, did they? They banned something else.
Let me check. Maokai.
They banned the Maokai.
The Nico
okay.
ban for Maokai, yeah.
Sure, and yeah, the Nico ban seemed fine. They actually dealt with Kurosh a lot better. We didn't really touch on the mid lane matchup as a matchup too much on its own. Kurosh was up in CS, obviously, but didn't really have too much of an impact on the game, right? So it seems like they don't have to focus him too much, and they didn't have to ban the Jace to achieve that. So we'll see if Belfast want to then just drop the Orianna, maybe go back to the Jace raw, if they think it was just better there, or how they want to handle this mid matchup. To try and give Kurosh the best chance possible to have an effect. And it is the same first 3 bans coming out of Belfast Storm. Verzik adding the Akali, I think, is reasonable, and we'll see what their priority is going to be. If it is the Xayah, God forbid, or if it's something else they have in mind in that first pick, it is the Maokai.
I was going to say, if it's the Xayah, I'm finding a corner and going to cry. It's an Orianna answer by Belfast here, I think. They probably just got Orianna Xayah again. I mean, Vayngod doesn't look bad on the Xayah, right? And you did well, despite being into a lane that realistically you're going to hate. It's just the rest of the map kind of fell apart a little bit. Opting into the Kai'Sa, though, now you have the problem of Vayngod likes to play a mix between standard and lethality. So you can kind of say, okay, try me. I'm just going to play Xayah. Gino can say, I'm just going to play Xayah, or we could just see the Ezreal again and stop this Kai'Sa actually getting to have any kind of impact. And Hollow's on a poke mage.
I would have loved to have seen this last game. If they'd picked Xerath last game, they would have been so much more fun for them, I think. But
yeah, true Four Nations enjoyers will remember Brixton Xerath from earlier in this season, and it was
Rest in
very
peace,
good.
Arcadia.
It was hugely impactful, and it is just a great outrange matchup, and this is something we were calling for earlier in the split when Xerath was at his height of his powers. So I love this for Hollow. He can still have cross-map impact. He is very vulnerable in lane, and we did see him die several times in lane in game 2, so I'd be worried for him about the gank pressure. The Xayah coming in for Geno is fine, obviously, is the answer into the Kai'Sa. We'll see if Vengor can get a better result out of it. But the Ornn, the blind tank again for Rengus, I don't know. Synergy, you particularly, you wanted to see something more out of him, right?
I don't understand particularly why they're picking Ornn here. Like, Ornn goes well with currently the 2 champions they have, and that's fine. But it means that your last 2 picks, and so your support and it's your jungler. Support, yes, can be used very well to like counterpick bot lane. Often the support does impact the lane earlier more than the AD carry does. But when you've got a matchup like this between these teams where top lane is so influential, I can't believe you're essentially wanting to say, yeah, we'll just pick a tank and then Lars, you can do kind of what you want.
I had a mini heart attack there. I was like, they have to pick Rakan on 4, otherwise they're giving the game over for free.
Yeah, otherwise
like you can't give that high of a pressure bot lane to Geno and Jolly. My concern here is you have to pick something like the Xin Zhao in jungle. You cannot have a tank or a mage because this Kai'Sa wants to go lethality. This Kai'Sa wants to go like one shot. Vanguard likes to play that build. Sure, we've seen them do crit here and there, but if you're going crit, you're condemning your Kai'Sa to death. Well, you're condemning your Kai'Sa to death. You cannot play crit Kai'Sa very easily into Xayah. It's a stylistic counter. Nocturne is fine as long as we see the lethality build. If we don't see the lethality build, this game has just been blown wide open, and frankly, it could go either way.
I find it very bizarre to take Nocturne last year. Like, I don't have an issue with the Nocturne pick itself. I'm just still very confused about like taking the Ornn earlier. It's like, if you're going to go on like last pick anyway, fine, because you picked it into a matchup that you know. It just seems very strange to blind pick it. I'm ready to fully eat my words here. I like the comp Belfast Storm have as a whole. It just feels like it's not quite playing into the conditions of the matchup enough for me. But it can work. It works really well. It's a nice comp.
So I think the big reason for last picking the Nocturne here is you're into Xayah. You can't easily jump onto Xayah. Feathers are gonna fly. You can kind of jump onto a Xerath, but let's be honest here, you're probably going to have a Maokai sat on its face. It's going to be very hard to do. You don't know what top support is. If that support had been an Enchanter, you hate your life. If that top laner had been anything other than Olaf, you hate your life. Nocturne can get to an Olaf very easily and isn't really stopped by the Braum. Picking it on 5 here is very much a way of saying, your Xerath now dies. Your Olaf now dies.
I agree. Like, I'm happy with the Nocturne pick as a whole. I was just it's more when more of the issue is the Ornn for me. But I think the comp as a whole works really nicely, right?
Akali was banned. It's one of Rengus's most comfortable champions, and you know that you're going to perform onto it no matter what you're into from Lars, because you've banned four of his champions.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things of like, we can blind here. We're R3. They can't pick top before we get bans through. We've already banned 2. We're going to ban another 2 anyway. You're forcing Lars to dig deep into that champion pool. And sure, you're probably expecting it to be the Olaf again. If they bring out the Camille, it's a very different story. But because it's the Olaf, you're finding a very easy time here to just say, okay, you can't play anything other than the Olaf here. You have to pick it, and we're just going to play the Ornn into it.
If it feels like a nameplate's off, we're good, right? We're chilling, we're happy with the draft, right? We're decent with the Ornn, but your nameplate's on in the context of the series and the way that Verzik have been playing, especially the way Belfast ended that last game, where the team play really started to suffer. Verzik was playing very well with their individual kind of mechanical champions coming together. I think I like the way that Verzik has stuck to their guns in that regard. I like the adaptation for Hollow. All I need to see from him is to stay alive in lane and to play Xerath appropriately far back to stay out of Nocturne vision, if possible, right? And that should be fine. And then I just think Belfast, we're going to need to see them get back to game 1, shake off, and very much come into game 3 looking refreshed. Otherwise, I think they'll just not be able to stand up. So it's going to be a test of the mental for Belfast here. They're giving them a comp that if they can get that mental on board, they will be fine. But I think Verzik are still feeling it. They're still running hot, and that shows by their draft. So
Yeah.
I guess just to because we are going to go into the game very soon, I'll give you 1 point synergy, just so I know you've got something to wrap up.
Oh, I was just going to mention very quickly that I think I've seen it a couple of times in various places, but an Olaf build, I mean, it used to be a thing way back as well, like going like Redemption Olaf and stuff, and then building a little bit more supportive. Like you go for early damage during his like big spikes, and then afterwards you like kind of pivot into a little bit of supportiness because you are going to fall off eventually. I wonder now that they have the Xayah, they have the Xerath, that's damage. You've got the damage you need. You don't need Olaf late games for doing damage. You just need a bit more survivability. There's a potential angle there. Don't know if it will happen or not. We'll see.
My big concern there is the artillery mage is going to struggle getting to a Nocturne. I think if you had any other magic damage dealer, if you had any other magic damage dealer, I would agree with you. But because you've got an artillery mage, they're going to be miles away from the fight anyway. You're never going to catch him.
Counterpoint: if you've got Locket and Redemption, you keep your Xerath alive.
Yeah, but then what's the Xayah going to do? Go cry in a corner, and then you're probably overstacking items with Braum.
You simply bait the Nocturne to ult so far away from the rest of the fight to kill Xerath that they've removed himself. He essentially killed himself. He's just off the map. So then you just win the 4v4 and you're chilling. All right, no problem. So before we get into game, very quickly, game 3, Belfast Verzik, super fast. Who's about to go into game? Zika, who wins?
Verzik.
Synergy? Belfast, we split them. Casters, it's over to you. Take us home here in this game 3. Belfast Storm or Verzik Esports. One of them is going home today. The other is stepping forward in the lower bracket to face DMG UK. Let's find out who it's going to be.
Thank you very much, and the draft is done. The coaches have done all they can. It is up to these 10 players now to decide the fate of either Verzik or Belfast, which one will continue on in the UKEL playoffs, and which one will unfortunately have to end their basically series or their split. It is Verzik versus Belfast, and I am once again joined by Temporal. My god, game 3, interesting draft, hollow on the Xerath. How we feeling?
The kings of the lower bracket in Belfast Storm, who've run this gauntlet before, they know what it feels like. If they're back up against the wall, be one game from elimination versus Verzik. They've got their Lars on their 6th top lane pick. 5 bans going his way. Ikuven every single game this series. It feels tense, Ejun. It feels like the end of a long road. Neither team willing to go over the line. Everyone taking it easy at level 1, but everything at stake here.
Indeed, and we do have some strong picks. Of course, Lars once again on his strong Olaf, which we saw on game 2, completely dominated that game, showcasing a really special performance. But this time, Rengus on a really comfortable champion to play that weak side with the orange side. I wonder how this matchup will be compared to Cassante versus Olaf.
Slightly better, but not fantastic. Would have loved to have seen a Rengus R5, Renekton, or Jace to pair with that Nocturne to give it something to dive towards. Right now, Wildstars is probably just going to end up pathing bot for 6. Flipping his coin with Rakan as diving buddy. It's not a lot of damage and it's not a lot of reach all the way into an artillery mage like Hollow, like Small Critter peeling backwards, creating that dangerous zone of feathers to step into. It's going to be real difficult, Ejun.
Indeed, and I mean, I feel like just like a solo kill here, a solo kill there might just kind of really dictate the tempo of this game. We already kind of see like a bit of the pathing from the side of the jungle. Like we do have Goldie trying to path more towards the top side of his map, starting in the bottom side of the jungle, and then the opposite for Wildstar. He wants to play much more for Vanguard, and I mean, I think this is kind of the series as a whole, right? Yeah. Like that the analysts kind of teased on from the beginning. Vanguard versus Lars. It comes down to the top lane versus bot lane.
Belfast have had a pretty good show. Yeah, playing around Vanguard, enabling that late game hyper carry fantasy has been their objective from the start, even though it looks a little bit wider now. I'm sort of hoping we get to see a little bit more action out of them this game. Last game, definitely rough, definitely didn't manage to execute on the game plan. Started to fall behind quite quickly. Yeah, the R4 top lane pick, a bit of a classic and does allow you to free yourself up in the draft. with that Ornn. I just really got to see this Nocturne worth it, because just like the desk, I'm not convinced. The Wild Stars could still prove us all wrong.
This is very true, and another thing they have to kind of work against is the game 2 loss. Just naturally, I feel like Belfast Storm is coming into this match with a bit of like a momentum disadvantage. Verzik's probably feeling a bit more confident, feeling a bit more good, at least positive. They're feeling.
You see it proven
coming
in the
off
draft,
a victory.
right? When you win in game 2, when you're like, we've got it. It's then on your opponents to come up with something new. You can continue to run as much of that winning comp back as you think is valuable. So we'll see the Olaf again. Did not see the Kale swapped in for it or anything else. You're right, that momentum, that presence, that Olaf from game 2 still hasn't been answered. Love the phaser adaptation here from Rengus. Just lets you dip in and out of those axes, gives yourself a little bit more space. Oh, that's a classic. That is an absolute classic. Rengus, you monster.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that's Lars kind of biting a bit more off than he could chew. He thought that this was going to be a repeat of game 2, but no,
Look
this
at that
time Rengus
rage
showing off
teleport
big.
back. That was frame perfect. I'm back out on the map. I've had enough. I'm going back to top lane. Oh, Rengus is so good at Ornn, even though the champion has been nerfed into the ground from the last time we saw him play competitively. Just having the presence and the knowledge in the 1v1. It's what we credited Lars for last game, knowing your limits, pushing the boundary, and in the 1 versus 1 finds the advantage so early on. That is exactly what the Olaf is picked not to do.
Yep. I mean, another thing to note here in the mid lane is that, for the past 2 games, it has been Kurosh laning better into Hollow, and this game doesn't seem too much different at the moment. Oh, we do have a little bit of bot lane skirmish that has begun. Zerg is chunked down a bit low, but so is Smoker and Jolly Boys. So they have to be careful. They're playing a bit more aggressive, knowing that Goldie has their back. But does Vanguard notice the exhaust is used, the cleanse is used to cleanse off the exhaust? Zerg is getting caught out here together with Vanguard. Can Vanguard get the kill on Smoker? Having to flash out just to run away. You can sense the nerves of these players, knowing that this is going to be the last game that they can play potentially. So they're trying to play the best they can, but Vanguard hasn't gone down. Jolly Boy gets the kill instead. So Vanguard 1 kill. That's an advantage for Belfast.
Absolutely at the limit there. Vanguard on single digits of health in the 2v3 outplay. Goldie not going to be unhappy with getting some gold into his bottom lane. Unfortunately goes over to Jolly Boy. Zerg also picking up the kills. Both supports tried to remove the threats, tried to keep their AD carries alive. With this wave coming in, Zerg, you're going awfully low, buddy. That is
is he going to give us life for
20
this?
health.
Oh, wow. He got so low there.
Pull. That will allow Vanguard to farm an extra wave. Pivotal on this AD carry at this time. I would love to see the full AD Kaiser come out this game. We got plenty of magic damage from Rengus, who will be able to do that percentage health damage, to be able to do everything the Ornn can in the team fight. And yeah, we need the outplay potential. We need the Jackie Love special. Kraken Slayer, be damned, everything in there. Gonna be full AD, full damage, I feel, to play all the way through the fight, to shred all the way through Lars's Olaf.
Yeah. And Zerg just sacrificing so much of himself to give Vanguard that guaranteed farm. It really is kind of like a microcosm of everything that's happened so far. Like how Belfast likes to play, just utter sacrifice for Vanguard, utter faith in that Vanguard can perform, in that Vanguard can deal the damage and be the carry when this team needs him to be. And game 1, absolutely 100%. Game 2, unfortunately, he wasn't able to rise up to the challenge. Game 3 is where he has to prove himself. The dragon is now up.
Yeah, we've seen them win on the triple threat. So it's not all Vanguard all the time, but it's definitely the crux, right? He's the main pillar in the late game. I think it's been weird to see Kurosh not pulling out the Zeds, not pulling out the Seraphines, not pulling out these more exotic picks he's known for. Second game now on the Orianna. Once again, you're right, a CS lead over Hollow, but Hollow's picked a team thematic pick rather than, the Xerath should be winning in lane, but he's not choosing to push that out. He's not choosing to be present in that fashion. We'll have to see if the Xerath later on can continue to offer that difficulty of approach that sort of defines his composition. Helped to the Vex last time as well. You come forwards. It's not enough with that bit of counter dive, that bit of damage.
Oh man, this game, not too much action, but
Do you feel
tense.
it, June? Do you feel
Yeah, no,
it,
it's
everyone at home?
Yeah, it's tense, man. It's tense because it really is like, I mean, it's kind of a crazy thing because we've been watching like these teams play like every week, but for one of this team, this is it. This is the final time they will be able to get to play for this series, and Hollow just goes down with impunity into Wildstar. That nice ult coming out from Nocturne, but at least Verzik's answering back with a Dragon.
Yeah, it's Cloud Dragon on 1, so it doesn't do a lot just yet. And I'm a fan of it. I did just have a bit of an epiphany. I remember seeing in Japan a little while ago, there was a duo and solo queue over there, and they had mastered a Nocturne Orianna combo. So I'm setting us up for something that probably won't happen, audience. But if it does, if it does, mark my words, you'll hear me shouting at 10 p.m. at night, and my neighbors will love me. Goldie hit a little bit too far too soon. Will be found by Vanguard.
Oh no, yeah, this is just a bit too greedy. I mean, he's here completely alone. We do have Jolly Boy trying to help out, but with that Ignite, that's just a nice kill going over to Zerg. 4-1 so far for Belfast.
Yeah, eking out advantage. They were faster for the cross-map play as well. So they'll even be able to claim a little bit of Goldie's jungle while he was still playing around the bottom side of the map. Gave it away as well. That Scryer's Bloom over the minion wave. So Verzik will be wise. Might even dissuade them from stepping in here. Doesn't look like Goldie's going to care too much. But, Ejun, ask me about this Nocturne Orianna combo.
Okay, I will,
Maybe
but
after
right
that.
after
Maybe
I
after.
see this play over here, they're trying to do on Small Critter. A nice ultimate comes out and he backs off. But yes, I shall ask you indeed, Temporal. What is this amazing, legendary Orianna Nocturne combo that comes from the land of the rising sun?
You know, it works great on AD carries with that flash as well. We see you, Small Critter. When Orianna goes to protect someone, if they go out of range while the ball is on them, it snaps back, right? We all know how Orianna works. If the ball's out of range, it snaps back. If that person leaves the range before the ball attaches, it's not instant. It's got to fly like it does with command attack. The ball will follow them all the way.
Oh,
This means all you've got to do to guarantee a 100% chance of nailing that shockwave, delay your protect till Nocturne's just started to fly, but he's still in your range. Cast your shockwave just as he's about to land, and it won't return to the Orianna as it normally does, so you won't have that sombrero effect. And instead, you nail the enemy carry every single time.
You're telling me that an Orianna ult that can go from like the
global-
usual range to like 2,000, yeah, like a global.
yeah.
My
And,
God.
you know, Nocturne normally enough damage to finish off whoever gets splashed by a shockwave, especially when you can just choose the squishier target. Wild Stars. This guy's paranoia back up already, looking for a play on this bot side. Goldie is wise. Spotted clearing out a ward, so everyone knows Verzik are playing down here in the bot lane, trying to push this wave out. They don't know that Wildstar's waiting for a way in Zerg without his ultimate, else he no doubt would have charged forward there. A little bit of diffusion, both the junglers, no camps right now, so we can get a bit creative, we can try and find an angle.
Yep. Belfast with a little bit of a nice lead, you know, with those 4 kills that they have accumulated across the map. I mean, they have about a 2,000 gold lead, but still, you know, it seems like a pretty even game. Just anything could happen. Anybody
Slow
could like turn it
advantages, but
around
not
over
for long.
here. Yep, the game might start exploding. Ooh, there we go. Wildstar gets a bit low. Zerg uses the ultimate, charms up Small Critter and Jolly Boy, but they're just so safe under the tower that they're able to get back. That's why Braum is nice.
Yeah, Jolly Boy's shield staggers the engage, and while Zerg runs through at the end, his teammates already expended cooldowns on that Unbreakable Will. Means that he will be able to dissuade the 3v2 dive. Not too bad for the Nocturne. He's not just about going to have that ultimate back up again for the Dragon, I feel.
Oh, wait, the ultimate from Hollow? Is this going to be what he's going to try to do
Vanguard's
here?
low,
Yes, it
Zerg's
is.
low.
Boom, sniper. Does this guy play Call of Duty? Okay, he hasn't practiced his quick scope angle yet, so, you know, he wasn't able to get the kills, but they both got super low, and now they have to completely back off. In the meantime, Goldie caught off again. Unfortunate. It feels like Goldie is not respecting the Orianna Nocturne power at the moment.
It's like he hasn't quite got the timing down for when you can just be in your opponent's jungle and how much freedom he was awarded at the time. Wildstar's just a little faster there. We saw a standard Nocturne Shockwave combo. That's what we're going to probably see on side lanes. And the best thing is you don't even have to have anyone in the lane, the minions enough vision to get the paranoia going. And as Wildstars continues to grow more powerful, and as Lars continues to not accelerate his lead past 30 CS in this top lane, we enter an interesting proposition where this Nocturne could potentially be the biggest threat on the map, and Belfast's composition gets a lot easier to play with.
Yep. This dragon coming up in 15 seconds, and despite what the despite what the overlay is telling us, no, it's not the cloud. We're not in LCK. Still the second dragon got something different, so it is Hex Tech indeed.
It's because this is the highest level of play. This is as good as you get on a weeknight. Forget Worlds,
my God.
That's at the weekend. But here, League of Legends respects the UKEL, respects the Four Nations tournament, just like the greatest region. I think it's fair to say.
Oh, that is, of course, great to hear, but, UKEL, they have been playing amazingly. I have been wowed a lot while broadcasting with everybody in this crew, of course. So this game, too, I'm hoping for it to be a banger. It is the last game, hoping it's climatic. It is, of course, a 2K gold lead for Belfast, but that's no way, nothing sealed at the moment. It's still anybody's game. We still have, of course, Lars, despite the solo kill in top.
A good early game, but it's not. It's not the be all end all.
Yeah, no, I mean, Lars, despite getting solo killed on top, got a nice 30 minion CS lead. He's still dominating his lane. He's got that the Stride Breaker already finished. He's feeling good. I mean, of course, Rengus is feeling good too. He has the Sunfire Cape.
Yeah, it's enough. Rengus to dissuade the all-in, be able to bite back. What a stable top lane for Lars to be playing in. That's not his comfort zone. It's fair to say. He's normally Lars Smash right now. It's just not happening. It's not coming together.
He's having to play very respectfully into Rengus. I think that's probably the biggest thing with that level 1.
Check the jungle. Lars is taking Goldie's camps. And when you're on the Maokai, I did abuse early season Maokai for a lot of elo. I understand everyone out there in chat who was just like, it's Maokai, he's really good. Not as strong without gold as he used to be. And while he's got the demonic embrace through, that classic, I now deal plenty of damage and I can convert my future health items into damage thing that just lets Maokai play how he does right now, it's still not really enough. As soon as we were out of the days of Leandri's full damage Maokai being tanky enough by getting ahead, it's a bit of a risk that Verzik's jungle falls a little too far behind her and finds himself a bit of a frontline victim. Will get onto this Herald. Be able to take that one away. Belfast wise to it.
Yeah, some people around mid lane here. There's a lot of interest in this area of the map. I mean, just a lot of jungler action. Both teams playing so respectfully. Oh, okay, here we go. The engage comes out. Did they already use the ultimate? No, they didn't. Here we go. It is Jolly Boy. He's on the wrong side of the map. Of course, we do have a bit of artillery support trying to come out from the side of Hollow. A nice fight, Smoker having to just back off completely, flash and ult and everything else. Oh no, this is not going the way we were thinking it was supposed to go. Wildstar now going into Hollow, and last time I checked, Xerath doesn't have a lot of mobility. Xerath, you gotta get out there, buddy. No, he cannot. It is a triple kill for Vanguard, which is exactly what Belfast Storm needs to be in control of this game.
That is an absolutely fantastic coming together, and I think Belfast Storm just realized what they had to do over the Dragon Wall. Wildstars held the paranoia until he could land it at the perfect time. As we see the cross map come through, will be Lars getting this tier 1 tower dropped onto himself. I do like him going for the Ravenous Hydra here. Lets him be that side lane threat. Lets him try and be that force from the outside that Verzik need. But yeah, that fight around the Dragon Pit, it just looked like Verzik weren't quite ready, and the Braum split and taken out has been the way they've won those small unit fights so far. No shield to throw up in front means the rest of Verzik fold in their own jungle.
It really feels like it all rests on Lars, and I don't know, is it asking too much for one player? It could be, because Lars, yes, he is in a healthy position. He's got that tower gold. He's feeling good as the Olaf, but this is such a mountain to climb now. 3-0 or 3-1 on Vanguard.
It's healthy. but it's not huge. From Lars, we expect huge. You know, in those Fiora pop-off games, it's not 1-0-0 20 CS up, it's 5-0-0 and a Flame Horizon soon to be realized. We're not getting that so far this game. We'll have to see if Verzik are comfortable playing out macro when they're not in the same situation as last game, where they're not massively far ahead, so these big swings land and the impact is always huge whenever they find something. Instead, it's going to have to be more subtle. If we look down their composition right now, by the time this dragon comes up, you know, if Vanguard's going to get a cheeky base in, I don't know if he's sitting on gold. Could almost be most of an item, if not a whole item behind at 20 minutes. And that's quite a lot for a Xayah to overcome into a Kaiser. Xayah favored in lane, creates that zone of control, but the Kaiser spits out more DPS. She spikes harder.
It just feels like overall this game, for some reason, it feels like Verzik's, they're really scared of losing out.
This
they
is
want
the
to play
highest
super
pressure
careful.
situation Verzik will ever have been in. Belfast Storm, sure, they are slightly a different roster. A small critter takes a decent chunk of his health bar, but they've done it once. They've done it twice. And they may just run the lower bracket a third time.
Oh, here comes the artillery support into Vanguard. Vanguard has to use the flashes to get away over there. Okay, he is super low, but in the same time, there was a nice damage coming out there for Kurosh, and Kurosh showing off his skills, his prowess, his swagger, his pizzazz. And with that, Belfast wins another fight. Vanguard doesn't even go down, and they get the dragon with it.
Wilhelm, Limsey, Dom, you might not be here, but Belfast Storm, with or without you, looks so good in these triple threat setups. It's not the top lane this time. It's not a crazy Akali pick. The Nocturne, the Orianna rise up when Vanguard is focused too hard.
Man, and that got so close for Hollow. I mean, you could see a world where that was basically just Vanguard dead, and they just had to fight. They would just have to start the fight completely on the back foot. But Vanguard surviving, and an amazing trap there set up by Kurosh means that that's just another fight that Belfast wins decisively.
Yeah, it's providing enough threat now that Verzik starting to slip further and further. No longer a 3,000 gold lead, 5,000, no doubt. An item completion for Vanguard waiting in base. It's going to get more and more difficult for Verzik here on out. They've got to start involving Lars. He does have the teleport this game, recognizing that he needs to join in. There won't be the deep Vex ultimates. There won't be the arrival at these fights. There won't be a Sneak Baron he can't attend.
Oh, okay, here it is. Lars trying to take the game into his own hand. Gets the nice kill into Kurosh. This is exactly how you need to play, Lars. And the Nocturne ult comes out as well. And this is Rengis trying to just fight back into this Olaf. Oh my god, look at this Olaf. Wait a second. Observer, are you sure it's not more interesting up there? Okay, apparently it isn't, because of course Baron is playing. No. The Observer was completely correct. I was just like hopium over Lars. Maybe trying to get killed there.
Cover this.
Wait, the artillery. The artillery is coming out. Nice damage so far. And the Baron is getting kind of low. This fight is going to be an important one. Nice disengage coming out from the Braum, making sure that they can't go in. Zerg, the steal. He can't get the steal. And oh my god, this is crazy. I can't believe it. Verzik gets the Baron. They win the fight. They are somehow back into the game. Temporal, when it matters the most.
Belfast punished for an overextension in the bottom lane. Kurosh was caught out, and rather than go down, Rengis went down to help, tried to get his ailing teammate out, but it's just after 20 minutes. So not only do Verzik start the Baron, they get Lars to teleport out of the bot lane situation. They swing back in, and while they don't have a huge amount of takedowns, Lars, on this Olaf, swings it in and is suddenly on the board.
Whenever the stakes are high, you can always bet your soul that
you
this
can bet your last dollar.
Yeah,
on Lars going deep in the side lane. That's going to happen every single time. Hull breaker through as well now. It's going to be so hard to even clean out his minion wave.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'll be honest, Temporal, I was just kind of losing a little bit of hope for Verzik. I was like, oh no, 5k Belfast are playing so well and Verzik are struggling. I don't know, can they do it? Like, it seems so tough. And then boom, Lars comes in with the monster play, making sure that two people had to, like, you know, basically commit their entire time in bot lane. And with that, Verzik was able to take the Baron, and look at the gold lead, it's shrunken to 1k.
I like this Nature's Grasp prevents the easy hold on the tower. Those Baron minions do take so many shots. That's half of the tower down in trade for an ultimate. Not a bad way to start out your Baron buff.
My God, and Lars with the hole breaker as well. I mean, if you're Rengus, man, maybe you just go and help out your teammates. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, man. Like, what are you going to do in side lane, bro? What are you going to do in side lane?
That's way too risky. Wouldn't mind Kurosh coming back now. He's got 1 tower out there, but he's going to lose 2 in response. So net 1, not bad for Belfast, but it's the mid towers as well. Just allow you so much freedom.
Oh my God.
Exiting through your opponent's jungle. Now, Verzik's territory. They move down.
Oh my God.
And take the tier 2 as well.
Temporal, what a game. The momentum has completely shifted now. You can see Belfast playing so much more scared. Verzik playing so much more, like, basically confident. They're feeling good as a team now together. And, like, such a blow that Belfast needs to beat through, because, like, that... When you're losing Baron like that in a game 3 where you might be eliminated, that is absolutely demoralizing to the max. And Belfast needs to step out of this. They need to crawl out of... Mentally, they have to crawl out of the game, because they're still, like, I feel like they have a good chance of winning still, but it's more about the, you know, the question of the team mentality. Is it still there?
Yeah, I'd like to see them try go for some more team fights. Make it difficult for Lars. It's so easy in the side lanes for this Olaf to just run someone down and create a positive experience and then adapt, like with those teleports. I want to see some more paranoia engages. I want to see Belfast make Verzik work for it.
Oh, but then we do have Lars in top lane, and this one, no one in Belfast will be able to answer that one, so that's just another tower. Now we do have people caught out. Kurosh going to about half HP. The artillery from Hollow is starting to hurt quite a lot. I mean, in the meantime, Lars is just chilling at top. Okay, they're going in, but he has the ultimate, so he can just run away. He's just completely fine.
That's almost worth it to get that Ragnarok out, if it's really the only thing keeping him alive in these fights. However, the Dragon traded over. Belfast strike a little too late to move down and contest that objective. The cross-map play not yielding any results with 2 teleports up now, but nothing else out on the map. They've got to be careful to hold on to these summoner spells. Use them just like Verzik did before that last objective to generate an advantage.
Oh man, this game is dead even now. Gold even. Dragons even. Like, and it's a game 3. I mean, you know, I didn't know we had script writers here at UKAL Temporal. Let me be honest with you. I thought the games were just kind of whatever, you know, like it would, whatever happens, happens. But this has a whole story arc, like, written into it.
See, we're not going to introduce you all to the script writers just yet. We nearly did it when the tournament was sunset. But yes, we have multiple Shakespearean level authors in the back. We hide them in the Discord. We you know, flip them a coin to our witches once every now and again, and they give us a story just like this.
Oh man, and what a story it is. And imagine if Verzik comes back from this, like, this game 3 where they were looking, it was looking really rough for them, honestly. Like, everybody from Belfast was playing so solid, and with just a single fight, a single well-played opportunity from Lars, it might all get well done. But I might have spoken too soon. No! I might have Cassicus and Lars! No! He goes down, and there's nothing for them to take, so that means it's a 5 versus 4 for the next 50 seconds.
A bonus 650 gold over to Vanguard. If you're going to choose anyone, this Kaiser now, with the LDR through. I want to see Zhonya's on multiple members of Belfast Storm. I want to see them be able to buy time against this Berserker. All
they're trying to set up something.
Verzik can do is go forwards. They'll try one more time.
Okay, they are backing off from this, but this is a 5v4. This is a very ambitious. Rengus can just do the ultimate if he wants to.
Oh my gosh, he's going to hold back. All right. With Baron coming up.
Oh my god, Baron. Yeah. Baron in 10 seconds. Lars is going to be alive, and he will have the teleport, so he will be able to join the fight. So
the only thing holding Belfast back right now is Brom's shield. That's the only thing. They've used the Nature's Grasp to try and deny the coming forwards, try and deny any resets. It's a little bit late anyway, so it would have to be staggered, have to be careful here.
I think they want to use this timing. I don't know. This is so tense. Like, they basically make them like kind of half HP. It's like, okay, are we gonna back off and we start Baron, or are we gonna stay here and like potentially have to continuously play against
It's
into our
dangerous
Pope?
staying here against the artillery of Hollow. It's dangerous staying here while Lars pushes up that bottom lane.
Oh my God,
Belfast are able
Lars!
to
He's playing.
Yeah, he's
so
going.
good.
He's going. That teleport locked and loaded. He's right click the minion wave. He's pushing
He's
F2.
forcing
he's
an
looking
answer.
at Goldie. This is so rough. Only Rengis can really answer this, and he can't hold on for too long against that Hull Breaker. That item is antithesis to tanks. You cannot clear the wave fast enough.
No, you can't, and you just see just how nervous everybody is. The nerves on Belfast, the nerves on Verzik. They don't want to mess anything up, so they back off. They respect the Olaf push, but this does, of course, give the entire Baronside map to Verzik. So what will Verzik do? Are they going to pull the trigger, start it, or are they going to keep dancing, keep playing for Lars?
Without Lars here, only the poke of Hollow, only Goldie's engage the threat to Belfast's front line. They need to step up, they need to be confident, else Lars will run them out of time under this inhibitor tower.
Oh man, it's so
In fact,
tense.
they've
We at
sent
least
both
have...
TPs bot.
Yeah, we at least have Kurosh helping him out, but it's like, now knowing that Kurosh isn't there either, they started up the Baron. It is a 5v3, oh no, a 4v3 at the
Kurosh has
moment.
got a
The
TP
engage
right now.
coming
He
out,
goes.
the artillery coming into Vanguard. Vanguard, you're getting too low, buddy. You need to back off. At least the Nocturne ult comes out. Oh my God, Smoke Runner just goes in so
has got the base.
far in alone. Meanwhile, Lars is in the base. He's trying to end the game, baby. We might have the game. And in the base race, I can't believe it. Temporal, please save me. Oh my God, my heart can't handle some of this. Such excitement.
We're down one tower.
Oh
the
my
base
God.
from Rengis should
Temporal,
come through.
call an ambulance to my apartment right now. I know I live in Sweden, but you have to try your best.
Oh, no.
Look at this. Look at Lars. He's using it. He has the ultimate. Oh, he's even emoting. He knows he has it. He wins the game at Verzik. They make it. They make it to the next round of the playoffs, baby.
Not like this. Not like this. Belfast and Verzik put on an absolute show today. That is the best we've seen those teams this split. That is the peak of their season, and our two-time previous champions will unfortunately not be progressing through the lower bracket. What a show. But unfortunately, a little bit too Lars, a little bit too much.
Oh my God, Lars, I cannot believe it. This man consistently carries for Verzik. Verzik, for sure, the players, they're not just players, they're masseuse for Lars. Like, after these games where he's always carrying them so hard, they're like, they for sure massage his back. Absolutely crazy performance. That's it for us, of course, but there's going to be some great analysis after a short break. So please, everybody, don't go anywhere. We'll see you guys after a bit.
Whoever said that the devil couldn't weather the storm from Belfast? Because I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly.
How else could it have ended? The only way it could have
ending.
The only way this match could ever have ended is with a Lars backdoor, the Verzik special. My word. What a series that ended up being, right? I was worried that this might be a ban Fiora angle into Belfast 2-0 until we go next. But absolutely not. Verzik were ready to play, even after game 1. A tough game 1. It looked like that was going to be the 2-0. They bring it back. They bring the team play up in game 2. It goes right back down in game 3, but that doesn't matter because we've still got Lars in the side lane. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So we've only got one replay for you guys. We'll get to that in a second. We won't go straight into that because it's coming at the end. So let's talk about this game. Let's break down first what we were seeing up to that point. Sheikah, you can lead us off here. It was not the cleanest game by Verzik, right? It looked like Belfast were in control for the majority of the runtime.
Yeah, I mean, Wildstars was finding a lot of good picks onto different people, and teamfights were definitely going the way of Belfast. Vanguard and Kurosh were able to find a lot of use throughout the game as a whole. The problems started to arise when we saw Verzik start to group together. You know, Xayah and Olaf, you've got 2 threats you need to watch out for. I mean, the Xerath never really got to exist in fights for the most part, but in fights that went too long, we did start to see a lot of the Belfast health bars go lower. But if they were very quick and rapid and done, Belfast were coming out on top a lot of the time. But it's not the case with how the game ended. I mean, Belfast were coming out on top, right? They were coming out on top in the fight, and suddenly you look bot lane and there's a Olaf in the base. They've got ult. The only person who's able to get out and back is an Ornn, and
We loved their early game. We loved the way they played the fights. You say Wildstars on the Nocturne, a late pick, but he was executing it well onto the Xerath, punishing that immobile mid pick, using the ranged engage. But Synergy, it all kind of started to turn around when the Baron just kind of happened out of nowhere, right? It was like way down in the kills, way down in the gold. It looked like Verzik were down and out, but suddenly they've got the Baron, and now suddenly our Xerath's looking a bit hotter, right? The siege is getting a bit scarier.
Yeah, there was a definite point, I think, it must have been just after the Baron, where they caught somebody out, and then the Arcane Barrage came down, and just like all the shots landed onto, or like 4 out of 5 landed to Vanguard, and Vanguard gets out on like a sliver of health. Yeah, now that's the power of Xerath, right? Especially if you've got some kind of lockdown, which Maokai does kind of give you. But obviously the Baron enables them to do exactly what they wanted to do, which was have Olaf in a side lane. Olaf had a hull breaker as well. So what's he want to do? He wants to push. And obviously Baron empowered minions just make that impossible. You know, Orianna's going to struggle to wave clear against Baron. Yeah, it was just like the one condition in a way that game, like if they don't get Baron there, I'm pretty sure Belfast just win the whole thing, because the Belfast would continue to push, use their lead, use the momentum. The only possible thing that could stop them was Baron minions. Literally, I think it's almost on the minions more than anything else, right? Yeah, because they just couldn't wave clear against it. And then, well, yeah, Hullbreaker Olaf inside lane gets 3 kills, I think, at that Baron fight as well, or 2 or so. Yeah, suddenly having a much better time.
Yeah, let's give everyone what they want. Okay, let's roll the clip. Let's roll the end of this game. Let's see how it went down with the Lars split burst starting in the bottom lane, and then Verzik having the classic. We have to fight. We have no other choice. Lars, over to you, buddy. And here's the replay. Sheikah, why don't you cue this one up for us?
So you kind of see this Baron gets started up, and you will immediately get double TPs coming from the side of Belfast. That leaves their base completely open. Sure, they're winning the fight. Gino taken down. Olaf does take Wildstars with him, but that's the Xayah gone. They don't fight this anymore. Shockwave misses onto Jolly Boy, and that's the big problem. Jolly Boy now just plays Disruptor. Ornn is the only person able to get out and get back. So Jolly Boy is disrupting Vanguard left, right, and center. And at this point, I was like, okay, Ornn's back. This is fine. And then I remember, wait, Ragnarok is available.
Yeah.
Ornn isn't stopping Olaf here, and Ori gets back just at the end, but Olaf is still 2/3 health. There's no way in hell he's going to drop to dead, and the Shockwave is down, so you have no CC to try and pull him away from the Nexus. It was a good call from Verzik to keep Lars in the bot lane and just play to disrupt. And I think if that call hadn't been made, Belfast win off the back of the fight.
Yeah, I think just to add as well that it was really the double TP that really killed that for Belfast.
Yes.
I think if they just left Ornn there to at least just like kill the minions quicker. That was a huge wave as well. I think it was like a reactionary, oh, it's Baron, we must fight, but they were 4v4 at Baron. They were still even numbers. The numbers were fine. You could have easily left Rengus there to just clear, push out. Then if you need to TP later once the minions are all gone, do it. What I would say, and just to wrap the point up, is it was not Belfast's turn to play in that bot lane when you have a wave that big, right? They didn't respect that. They get punished for it, and then the secondary follow-up engage, like when they've already made the one pick, was, you know, they just weren't looking at the map, I guess.
To be fair, I don't think Lars was showing us in the base when the TPs came through, because you can't cancel TP anymore. So Lars timed it really well to walk into the base. Like it would have looked like Lars had backed off ready to TP to the fight as soon as they see the fight starting, right? But as soon as that wave hits the base and you see Lars with it, both TPs have already been played. You think, okay, Towers will kill this wave, we'll have Olaf join us at the fight. That doesn't happen, and you end up like suffering for it. It's just, I think it was just more of a bad read on the situation by Belfast, more so than not respecting the fact that Olaf is in this bot lane. I think they just read the situation massively wrong.
Maybe just like a bit of a pressurized, like very snap decision, as you say. You see Baron, double TP, I want to be there in time, like Ornn and Orianna, this is the core of this team fight engaged composition, right? Those are the ults you have to land to win. And then, you know, Olaf isn't currently visible. Object permanence slightly fades away, and we go, oh shoot, hang on.
Where is
Wait
he?
a second.
It's game 3 of the best of 3 as well when you're facing elimination, right? So
it's tough.
There's pressure. The pressure is there.
And it is worth reiterating that point as well, in the fact that Belfast are now out of the running. That was their last series in the UKEL winter.
Yep, the Four Nations will have to say goodbye to Belfast for now. I assume they will be fighting back in spring. We've seen them many times before. I don't doubt we'll see them again. And they did give up a great fight for sure throughout this split, but it was not their season. Verzik will step forward. Now, I'm not sure if we have a completed updated bracket. At the very least, we'll have the bracket we have from this morning. We can maybe pull that up just to see where things land. But this is Verzik moving forward to face DMG UK. And now our next matchup, you can see, is going to be that on Saturday at 4 o'clock, followed up by Venom Crest Serpents versus Tempest later on. But guys, let's just quickly think about DMG versus Verzik, because DMG, highly chaotic, did not have a good showing versus Serpents, who looked way more controlled and outclassed them fairly decisively. Verzik had to struggle to get here, yes, but they have such a specific way of playing the game and win conditions that no one else can offer. Synergy, thinking about the way that Verzik and DMG match up, how do you foresee this Verzik playstyle running up into the chaos of DMG?
I worry, to be honest, because today, I mean, you know, I said earlier, I think Rengus is definitely one of the better top laners in the league.
Yeah,
it definitely is better than Picad, assuming it's Picad that plays. If Lars can do what he did today, despite the number of bans on a new champ, and I'm sure there's other ones in the arsenal. We've seen plenty of, you know, 8 unique champs are split. I do worry for DMG in that top side. It's a mismatch in style in that case. Like, if DMG are going to do something, they're going to have to really make use of like mid and bot pressure, and kind of maybe just do their best to get a decent matchup that's going to either scale or just do what it can. Otherwise, I have a feeling Lars is potentially going to run away with it again, because he's doing the same thing over and over again, and no one's finding an answer to it really. There's very few teams who've been able to match that.
My big concern with this matchup is the rest of the map as well. I mean, against Venom Crest, we saw a lot of disjointedness, a lot of mismatch from DMG. Yang and Steven weren't playing as the unit we saw them as earlier in the split. Jinyu looked completely out of his depth in every single game, and Shroudy Rowdy couldn't make something happen. Up against Gino Jollyboy, who are now starting to come into their own, and Hollow and Goldie, who are now starting to come into their own, this might just be we're outmatched across the map, and Lars is terrifying into Pighead or Nata. Regardless of which one you get to play, Lars is still most likely going to just run away with the lane, as is Lars' fashion. So I think you really have to look at how you play as DMG and figure out how you can match up into Verzik. Because sure, Chaos can reign. Ask Victor, Chaos reigns every day of his life. But Shroudy Rowdy's not playing mid, so we won't see a Victor, I can tell you that for nothing. We won't see DMG be able to pull ahead against Verzik if they can't find leads in at least one lane. And based on what we saw today and what we saw on Monday, Verzik have the obvious edge for me.
Yeah. I think that one of the only teams that let Fiora through was DMG in the past. I don't think they'll do it again. I think they probably learnt their lesson from that one. That was another classic. 9 kills for Verzik in that game, 7 of them on Lars's Fiora, and they won entirely through his play. So I think we probably won't have to see that level of shakiness up there. But I think for me, we know what we expect out of Lars, and we're seeing more out of Hollow and Gino and Jolly Boy for sure. For me, I am very interested to see how Goldie performs going forward, because this was the best day of Goldie play I've seen.
Yes.
Aside from maybe that last game. The last game was maybe a little
20
bit,
minutes, the last game was rough. That was
Game 2 was
tough.
peak.
Game 2
was the peak.
Banger.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that
we
was
were-
really, really solid. And Goldie still came back in game 3. He just
Yeah.
had a very, very rough early game.
And we were talking about it in the green room, right? I was kind of saying Verzik looked like a significantly better team if either Goldie can really start to come into his own, or you find a jungler that works really well with the team. I don't doubt that Goldie works very well with this team, and I want to see Goldie really come into his own, like we saw in game 2, pairing up with Hollow, pairing up with Jolly, finding leads in every lane. If we can see that, Verzik they have the makings of a very, very good team.
Yeah.
And I mean,
There's a
you're
spark
matching
there.
up into Shroudy Rowdy, right?
Yep. We'll see how it goes. But we'll save more of the analysis for Saturday, of course. We won't get too deep into it now, but for now, let's just wrap it up there. Let's call it there. Let the series speak for itself. Verzik 2-1 over Belfast Storm. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. As always, I have been Trajan on the desk. Thank you very much, Sheikah and Synergy, for joining me. Thank you, Agent and Portal on the cast, Project Gap on the production, and the Four Nations for existing at all. Everybody, please follow us on the socials everywhere, at the UKL on Twitter, at the _fullstop UKL on Instagram. UKL.gg is the website. Discord.gg/UKL is the Discord. Jump in and keep following those playoffs, because it's heating up. We are not just getting the bog standard thing we expected. We are seeing upsets. We are seeing massive games left and right, and there's only more to come. We will see you on Saturday. See you then.